This meeting is being recorded.
Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the August 1st, 2023 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 13, 2023, setting forth the schedule of meetings for the year 2023-2024. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised, due to COVID-19, this meeting will be in person and virtual stream via Zoom. Public notice and instructions for this meeting were published in the Herald News and posted on July 20th, 2023, on the City of Passaic website, www.cityofpassaic.com, Council Agendas. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Schwartz,
Present.
Councilman Garcia,
Present.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Here.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. If we can please rise for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for allowing us to meet this evening, Lord. We ask you to please guide us in the decision that will take place this evening. In your beloved name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tearing yourselves away from what's going on outside. It is a wonderful day in the city of Passaic, and we have so many of our children and grandchildren outside and having a great time. If I may draw your attention to tonight's meeting, if you have a copy of the agenda, that's great. If you do not and would like to get one, you can do so by contacting the city's website, where you will find all the information that has been provided to the council in terms of resolutions, communications, ordinances, and the rest. You will be able to retrieve all and any information, the same information that the council, in fact, is given by the administration. We are up to Roman numeral 4 of our agenda, the mayor's update. I know the mayor is outside in all the festivities, and it's with the council's permission, we will hear his remarks when he comes back in. If we can, Roman numeral 5 is the minutes of June 13 and June 27. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented by the city clerk? If not, is there a motion, please, to accept the minutes?
Move it. Second.
Move in second on the minutes. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're on Roman numeral 6 of our agenda. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of the public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias, intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. If you would like to address the council, we will certainly welcome your remarks. We ask that you please share with us your name. Everyone is entitled to 5 minutes and 5 minutes only in terms of their presentation. If you're at home right now and are viewing this meeting and would like to be in touch with the council during this open session, we ask you to please call us at 929-436-2866. That's 929-436-2866, and enter meeting ID number 898-9261-2341. That's 898-9261-2341. and please press 9, which will indicate that you wish to speak. Again, those numbers are 929-436-2866, meeting ID number 898-9261-2341, and press 9. Is there anyone who would like to address the council at this time?
Hello, I come in divine name of Supreme Allah.
Sir, if I can ask you to please speak a little bit louder.
I said, I come in the divine name of Supreme Allah. I have a few questions, concerning about Bragg's Park. I'm kind of confused about some of the statements that the council allow the mayor that have so much power to say such things without doing his own and y'all own investigation. Now, the mayor put in the paper about drugs and everything else being uptown. But before the mayor did that, he had a conversation with individuals in the park saying in-house talk was in-house talk. So I didn't understand how did he go behind the backs of the ones that he sat there and talked to and did things like that too. Another thing, we talking about a concession stand. There's no place to put one up there anyway. It's bad enough. The children don't even have nowhere to play. And y'all got a big TV station up there. But, what I really want to talk about is, a comment the mayor made about the history, about the people that's up there that don't really know the history. I have a few questions. Do he know who Hank is? Do he know who Appleseed is? Do he know who Jimmy
Sir, I'd
is?
ask you to please address your questions to me as council president, not to the mayor or any other council.
I have the right to make a statement. That's all
Yes,
I'm
you
doing is
do.
making it.
Yes,
So
you do.
allow me to make my statement.
Very good,
All
sir.
right. So my statement is, let me inform you about a little history of uptown. Today I had the pleasure of running into an individual, elder. He was 70 years old. He blew my mind. He was telling me stories about his great grandfather walked that land. Now all of a sudden, individuals want to come up there and cover that our footsteps. I'm not gonna allow that. By any means, I will die in that land before our footsteps be covered, because it goes way back to the mid 1800s. So I didn't understand. You come up there, you say one thing, and I don't understand what's in-house talk. In-house talk should be, if we have a problem, we discuss it. Not come to individuals, make a statement, then behind the back, you wake up in the morning, you see a newspaper saying something totally different about the drugs. I want to address the drug issue too. It ain't really a drug issue up there. It's a mental health issue up there. And it's a lot of individuals up there that need counseling. Where's that at? Where's the house in that? You talk about the homeless and the prostitutes. How would you know that this young lady is a prostitute if you never slept with her? How do you know? Who gives you the right to judge anybody by what you assume? And then I want to talk about how you came on our land and disgraced our land, because you stood there and you took a picture, and specifically knowing that people of color is in the park. You know, then you have nerve to shake my hand like you wanted to pass that demon on to me.
You shook it back.
I didn't, good thing we was in the park, protected by the
Say what you
ancient
wanna say.
ones. He talk about he talk about things. You talk about things in our community. Why didn't you never?
Around my neck.
Why didn't you never come up there and talk about us raising the flags and put that in the newspaper? How every year in June we used to give the kids Christmas, or how we keep the park clean and cut the grass. Why you don't talk about that? One thing versus 10 things. So to me, you say you come in the name of God, but by no
You have
means
1 minute
you come
to
in,
conclude your remarks.
huh?
1 minute to conclude your
All
remarks.
right. But I just want you to know, for today, here's what I do from the ancient ones, man. I damn him in the name of the Father. I damn him in the name of the Son. And I damn him in the name of the Holy Ghost.
Anyone else like to address the council, please?
I believe questions were directed to me, Council President. I believe questions were directed to me, so I would like to answer them. One, let's get the record straight. It is a council meeting, not a mayor's meeting, but I do believe questions were directed to me, so I would like an opportunity to address them. I will stay within the rules, Robert Rule of Order, but I do want to address them. One, a statement was made that I came upon there. What wasn't added was I approached everyone before that camera rolled and explained a camera's going to go on. I don't want anybody to have to be in this if they don't want to. If you want to leave, you can walk up and leave. You chose to stay on camera. You chose that. I said, thank you for telling me. Tell the whole story if you're going to come up here and tell the story. Second, when you want to talk about Uptown and you want to talk about Hank, say a full name. What Hank? Because if we're talking about Uptown, that's where I was born. Born and raised, 212 Myrtle. That's where I was raised.
Excuse me.
That's where
Excuse me, sir.
It's my turn. That's where I was raised. So when you talk about my land, you don't get to exclusively claim that land. That's where I was born and raised my whole life. So to be clear, for those of us who know, Bragg Park was just grass and a wall. People call it a park. All of a sudden, it's Shangri-La. All of a sudden, it's Shangri-La. Those who want to talk about the dishonoring of Bragg's family, where were you the last 2 years while what was going on was going on? Then there was no issue. But the moment that I invest, the money, it's all of a sudden a dishonoring of the family. Let's be clear. 2017, I invested the money the trees, invite the children there for Christmas. We had over 250 children show up. It's all nice and good to live somewhere else and come and claim Uptown. It's all nice and good to come together and clap hands when I named it John Willis Way. It's all good to come together and say, thank God that you're investing in Bragg Park. But the same people who talked about I was taking away the 100 steps now show up and say, look how beautiful it is. The same people who were spreading rumors saying he's going to steal the 100 steps and destroy it now go up to the fitness park. So let's be clear. When I put the tracks in number 11 school at the park, everyone talked until it was done. When I did the 100 steps, everyone talked until it was done. When I said I was removing the train tracks and everybody saw the blight and crime and started spreading rumors, until now we're getting tens of millions of dollars to create one of the most beautiful open space downtown. Then everyone says it's beautiful. So let me make it clear. Say what you want to say. Claim what you want to claim. Invoke God if you want. You want to invoke God? I have no problem. I'm covered by the blood of Christ. Say what you want to say. I have no fear because I don't walk around Uptown with security. I walk around by myself, and I'll continue to walk around by myself because that's where I was born and raised. But you want to come here and misrepresent people? Let me make this clear. I spoke to the Bragg family. I let them in on it. They are ecstatic about the project. To be clear, it's not your name on the wall. It's the Bragg family name on the wall. The Bragg concession stand will honor the entire family. The bus stop will stay. The wall will stay. Nothing's being taken away. It is only an addition. And furthermore, this wasn't hidden. I announced it a year ago. You love talking about my lives. My lives tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I do nothing in the dark or in the hidden. So make this clear. When you say I shook your hand, say the whole story. You shook it back. You stood there, shook my hand. When you had me alone, that's when you could have spoke up. Don't come here and pretend like somehow there was something that occurred behind your back, or I didn't walk up to you and tell you to your face what I was going to do, or didn't have the conversation and say, ask the question that you want right here while I'm alone. Because whether it's early in the morning or late at night, whether it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm driving around every single ward, identifying the areas to improve and invest upon, I don't need to justify to individuals in the park why it has to be cleaned up, because the outcry is coming from Second Ward, from Union Baptist, from Burgess, from Highland. We put up music ballads, you turned them off. We put up lights and invited the children. The flag wasn't just put up, it was approved by my administration and supported by it. Every single activity was a partnership. You didn't have to pay for it because we put up the money, some from my own pocket, some from the pockets of the council members. Speak on that. Put that on the record. So to make it clear again, if the outcry is, oh no, where are you going to house the drug dealers? Where are you going to house those that are committing violent acts? I'll tell you where they can be housed. The support and the resources there and made available. The park is for everybody. Not a single exclusive community will claim an inch of this city. The city is for everyone, every age, every group, every race, every gender. Passaic is not Black Passaic. It is not white Passaic. It is not Latino Passaic. It is not Jewish Passaic. It is not Christian Passaic. It is not Muslim Passaic. It is not atheist Passaic. Passaic is for everyone. So before you start claiming Uptown, before you get on this mic, when all you know about Uptown is walking those streets now, and you know nothing about those of us born and raised there, those of us who spent our nights there, those of us who knew what was going down on the corner, I remind you, I wasn't born with a tie around my neck, and I didn't move from somewhere else here. So for now, we'll play it easy. But if you want to keep going down this route, we'll put each other on blast. I got no problem. I'm an open book. I'm an open book. I'm an open book. A threat. A threat.
Mayor, excuse me a moment.
A threat.
I will have you
It's a promise.
removed.
Harassment. That is not a threat. That is not a threat. I'm saying, hey, we will have order.
Mr. Mayor.
So nobody's better than you. Don't change your story. Tell the truth. You came up on this mic talking about shook your hand. How does somebody force to shake your hand? Hide your face if you want. But when you look a man in the eye and you shake his hand and you say thank you, then you show up to a meeting and you get on the mic and you misrepresent, that says more about your character. It says more about your character. Says that newspaper came out before you shook my hand. It says more about your character than anything else. That's what I had to say.
Gentlemen, I will have you removed if you cannot stop. The mayor is entitled to his speech as the gentleman before him was to his. But we cannot interrupt each other because if we do, we'll ask the police to respond accordingly. Everyone is due the respect. Certainly the mayor. Mayor, were you finished for your remarks? Thank you, Mayor. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time? Yes, sir, please.
Good evening, City Council. Good evening, Mayor. Apologies of what just happened. My name is Ari Mack, 187 Howard. I would like to ask, previously I stated regards to about the Van Houten Avenue and High Street. I'd like to ask what's the ongoing investigation regards to the that question, and that's on my agenda for tonight.
Mr. Fernandez, the gentleman mentioned High Street and Van Houten.
Yes, Council President. As you know, and we've discussed previously, there's been an ongoing investigation regarding the traffic counts in the area. In fact, there should be certain counters up now. One of the issues that we were having was where individuals were parking, dropping off and picking up, that the police was evaluating first, trying to remove that issue so that then they can get an appropriate count and make sure that the traffic light is warranted based on the appropriate counts. So I received that email from the traffic division that they've done those original counts and that they are working now on adding the counters that should be on the corner. I believe they were supposed to be there last week, right, Mayor? I think that's what you had discussed. And then once they've done that, they'll compile the complete report, and then the engineer will review what the numbers are and let us know if it's stop sign, if it's traffic light, or what exactly comes out of it.
Whatever the city would do has to be in compliance with state law and state regulations.
100%. The DOT is the one that controls that. And secondly, we have the added county complication.
I'm sorry, could you explain that?
So it's also a county road. So even if our study says that it needs a traffic light, let's say, we would have to go through the county and their engineering department would also have to approve the fact that it's a traffic light. I'm not saying that that's what it is. Let's just be clear. We're doing the counts now so that the engineer can provide their input and then so that the mayor can review it and discuss it with the council at his leisure.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else like to address?
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Kenneth Johnson. Now, I've been in Passaic all my life. My grandparents, I'm an honest worker. I don't sell drugs or anything. I worked in the temp agencies with all ethnicities for over 20 years. I also clean up the streets. I pay taxes through the temp agencies, and I work honestly. Now, for the mayor to say that this city is not a one facet, it's for everyone, that's not the truth at all. Now, also, I like to say this is a city, right? Which there are immigrants also from all ethnicities coming in the city. The city is also rat and roach infested. I clean the city up myself. So if you're doing a good job as the mayor of the city, at least it should not be rat and roach infested. Now, Uptown, you're right. That's where I'm from, Uptown. Uptown doesn't belong to anybody. Now, my grandparents worked in the Aspen Street projects. My grandmother is a church Rotary secretary retiree. Now, we come from the church to the streets. Just in case people don't believe in the streets and the church, I'm for the streets and the church. Now, the city is a one facet. If we go outside right now, we see people celebrating which are one facet of one ethnicity. Now, there has been favoritism towards one ethnicity and discrimination towards another. Now, you speak Spanish, right? You speak Espanol?
Sir, your questions need to be directed to me as council president.
Now, listen, the mayor speaks Espanol. Now, you have immigrants. To me, this is not Passaic, a city. This is a safe haven for immigrants. You also are people of, I would consider what, Jewish ethnicity? So you have your own area where you feel safe and secure, right? Am I right? All right, I'm right about that, right? So this area should be for all people, but it's not for all people. It's of one facet. Now, if I was a person who wanted to go out and eat in the city, all I would see is Espanol restaurants, which I can't barely understand. Now, I'm American. This is still America, right? We still in America, right? All right, then. So this should be still for everybody in this land. And being the fact that if the mayor was doing a good job and you people were doing a good job for this city, for other people, even to Croatian immigrants could be coming here to see the city, it's rat and roach infested. It should be cleaner than that as it is. And there should be more job opportunities for everybody in the city, not just of one facet.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Sean Allen. I'm the Passaic NAACP president. We are talking about the Braggs Memorial Park. I have spoken to the Braggs family, and the Braggs family is up with the uplifting of the park. Only thing they want is to be involved with it. That's it. They are good for the change. They want the change up there. This is coming from the Braggs family. Everybody else saying what they want to do, but nobody's putting the Braggs family on it. But I have spoken to the Braggs family, and they are up for the change to make it better up there. Because the memorial is still going to be there. It's going to be a Braggs whole zone there. And the family is on board with it. And to the council and the mayor, we had the same issue one time with the VFW. The place was rocking packed. People said, I got a construction, I got a this and that. And guess what? The city stepped up and helped build the VFW. So we got to put applause to where it be done at. If the mayor want to change up there, it's still going to be a Braggs Memorial Park. The family says they are on board with the change up there. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Mr. Mayor,
respond to some of the questions and statements as of even yesterday. I spoke to Mr. Bragg's children who are aware of the full plan of the Bragg concession stand, are fully aware of the plans for the Bragg area. In fact, the Bragg concession stand will expand to honor the entire Bragg family. The revenue of the concession stand was already stated that it was to go to support the VFW, so that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, no politicians would ever need to step in to save the VFW, so they could have a steady revenue source. In regards to the question that was asked, I will address it as succinctly as possible, but I think it's important for it to be on the record since these meetings are seen on social media. The question was asked, do I speak Spanish as an additional language? Born and raised in Passaic, my first language of communication is English. Learned to speak Spanish in a Spanish-speaking church. I have no problem with the fact that I can speak two languages. Many people are proud to be bilingual. I don't think that's a negative. I think there are many people in this room who speak more than one language and are proud to do so. America itself has stated there is no official language for the nation. In many government offices, English is the official language that we utilize to communicate, but in terms of bilingual communication, they relate to the demographics of a community. In regards to the city of Passaic and questions about eateries, restaurants, there are many eateries in the city of Passaic. We have a diverse community. If you go outside, you're going to find individuals from different races, different cultures and backgrounds. I won't go into the nuances of race, ethnicity, and nationality, meaning there are Black individuals who are from Caribbean islands, South America, Europe, and all over. Whether you are Black Dominican, Black Puerto Rican, whether you are Black from Russia or France, that is your race. In terms of culture, it's a whole different argument of who culturally is here. But I will say this, culture and immigration is an organic, natural process that occurs in every community. There was a time where you had a majority Polish community. That's why we have Pulaski Park. They didn't name it after another community, they named it after themselves. There was a time we had a majority Italian community. That's why we have Christopher Columbus Park, because there was a majority Italian community. The city of Passaic, which had many factories and mills, attracted many Eastern European immigrants searching for jobs. When jobs began to leave, when individual families changed, there was a time when there was a great large majority of African American communities, professionals who worked hard to build up this city and then retired and moved down south, bought homes in Georgia, North Carolina, and then other groups came. This is natural. It occurs all over. It is the reason why South Patterson, in Patterson in the 6th Ward, is now majority Middle Eastern, because there's a large immigrant group. Some live together because of a necessity, meaning, as you stated, you come from a church background. The gentleman who spoke last, and allow me to say I appreciate your statements. They were very clear. I do appreciate your approach. It was honest and genuine. But I will state this. As a churchgoer myself, as a Christian, on Sunday, I have the luxury, I can drive wherever I want to go to church. If I want to go to church in New York, I get in my car, I drive to New York. If I want to go to church in Wayne, I get in my car, I drive to Wayne. The Jewish community on the Sabbath cannot drive. So they do not have the luxury of saying, well, I'll live in one place and go to my synagogue in another city, because you can't practically walk from Passaic to Wayne. So having individuals come together has nothing to do with discrimination, has nothing to do with holding another community down. It is a necessity for the expression of a faith that is protected by the Constitution and Bill of Rights of this great United States of America. Just like the Muslim community tends to live together because of dietary restrictions and the need to have access to halal food, you can't live in an area where you don't have access to the food that you must eat to express your faith. See, we sometimes, I would ask, since it's the council president's meeting, it is not a mayor's meeting. So though I'm not required to be here, I will not instruct police to let people know that when someone's speaking, they cannot interrupt. But I will say that a question was asked, and as mayor, I'm given the right to respond. And in my response, I'm saying this. As I mentioned, the city belongs to no one group. The faces of the city change the same way as faces change all over. There is not a single policy or approach from this government stopping business from opening. You want to see a business open it. You want to see a business succeed, support it. Support it. Support it with your pockets. Show up, spend the money. The reason certain businesses support and thrive is because other people go to it. You can't blame the business for opening it. If I believed that a Turkish restaurant would be successful in Passaic, I would open a Turkish restaurant. You know how the community lets you know we don't want a Turkish restaurant? We don't go and they have to close down. That's not a race issue. No one in City Hall is sitting there going, no, deny this restaurant or deny that restaurant. In fact, an eclectic menu is something we welcome. We want diversity in food. We highlight it. But if you want it, support it. Sitting back and writing on Facebook and screaming and yelling about why is this business not this group or that, I'll tell you something. They have opened. They have opened. And if you showed up for the grand opening and the ribbon cutting, but Wednesday you went and supported another business, or if, like you said, I went into this business and they didn't understand me, you just admitted you went into that business. You chose to support that business. They can speak whatever language they want. You get to protest with your dollar and say you don't have it. But if I walk into a Chinese restaurant and they want to speak Mandarin in the back, they have every right to. If I don't want the food, I don't buy it. And if I want it, I buy it. Now, I have gotten every kind of restaurant. I enjoy them and I support them. But you want something? Support it. There's people in this room right now who have opened up businesses and have called out to the community, come and support. Oh, you'll support on Facebook. You'll like, you'll comment, but if you're spending your dollars somewhere else while you're complaining about somewhere else, that makes you a hypocrite. That doesn't make you an advocate. It makes you a hypocrite. Nobody has forced one group to leave. In fact, and I'll say this publicly, every member on this council I have witnessed defend communities that they don't immediately represent by their ethnicity or race, but represent by the honor and sacred oath they took to be council members. I have seen each, in fact, I've had arguments with council members for saying, I want us to do this for this community. So don't come, genuinely, I say this, you have a right to say what you want, but don't come without facts and not expect a response. Don't come and allege or simply state something. And again, man, and this is personal, I'll accept it. I should, as mayor, just stay silent. But this is personal. Don't act like I came from somewhere else. I'm from here. I'm from here. I'm from here. And I'll say this, and I'll say this. There are hundreds of churches, hundreds in Passaic, hundreds of Catholic churches, Baptist churches, Methodist churches. When you start pointing out 20 synagogues out of hundreds, the argument isn't about equity or fairness. You reveal a bias and an anger, and some of it is fair. Historically, there has been discrimination. I won't deny it. And Reverend McKinney once told me this, and I'll say it. He said, Council President, I will ask if there's another interruption to ask our police to escort the individual out if they cannot understand the rules and order. As much as I want, because I am the mayor of the city of Passaic. There you are. I have said this again. Reverend McKinney told me, it is not about you, Hector. It is about the office you represent in the government. So I'll admit, there has been historic discrimination in the past. But, we'll get on your radio and say what you want to say. Listen, but, yes, I do. Yes, I do. We'll see each other then. each other then. Sweet back. We'll see each other. We'll see each other then. Sweet back. Like I was saying, historically, there has been discrimination, but to come up and point to community and say you have your place and you get what you get and call a group you people, but then call the approach responsible government racism is unfair. It is unfair. And the fact that we call it out, the fact that so often people have been silent, if you don't want to hear the lecture, then come with facts, because I'll respond the truth. And the truth is, there are advocates sitting here who fought real fights, civil rights fights, who stood up against discrimination. There's cats here who don't support me, but I have seen fight for real to uphold the community. Don't dishonor their legacy by trying to make up a fight. When we all know that the Bragg family supports this, they've already stated it. Nothing's being taken away, it's being added. We're making something nice and using the revenue to support the VFW that's right there in the second ward. And the business is gonna go to the community to help the VFW, which has provided repasses and programs for the children there. So yeah, I'll take every moment to put it on record so that everyone who hears one lie will be able to hear 10 truths in response. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening. My name is Shantia Sapp. I am recently homeless. We've been homeless since November. We've lived uptown our whole lives until we were granted an apartment in the projects about 6 years ago. Last year, we put a garden in the back of the projects and they were not in agreement for it. We struggled and we struggled and we're still struggling today. Me and my two boys, 11 and 6 now, are still homeless and we're still struggling. We did the garden as a test run for the community to see how they respond to agriculture. And it was beautiful. The kids loved it. A lot of the members of the housing authority were not in agreement. That's why I went to the mayor. I met the mayor twice. We had 2 formal meetings where I asked permission. Before I went and did anything in housing, I asked permission. What can I do? What rounds can I cross as far as agriculture in the city? We would like to clean up the city and plant, teach the children something new, different. Other than that, I'm sorry, I got lost a bit. We wanted to teach the kids something new, something different. And it was literally turned down. A ton of the children from Aspen Place grew watermelon amongst various other things. We did indoor farming. We did propagation. I taught the children about soil biology and regenerative soil. We were out there and we created a safe space for them children in nature. One without infrastructure, one without more structures in a city that's too congested. We have too many structures. We're not saying we don't want the concession stand. We're just saying put it somewhere else. We don't have that many safe spaces already, natural spaces. There's the global issue as far as climate change and climate control, and we're extremely behind as far as everyone else. I feel like we're being like swept under the rug, and I say my story to correlate with the Save Braggs Park because I think that anytime we try to do anything initiative-wise in the community, we are shut down unless it is a part of the city or has Mayor Hector Laura attached to it. I think that's unfair. We should have the right to develop our community the way that we see fit. You're right. You talk about diversity, and this community is very diverse. But when I look around this room, everybody is the minority. Well, why are you keep trying to divide the minority? It doesn't make any sense. You say that it's about community and coming together, but you got to give us the space to come together and show that we can be a part of the community. You just distance us. You leave us in a corner, you distance us and say, oh, you're drug dealers and drug users, and all you can do is promote violence. Unless you're sitting at my immediate table, you're useless to the community. And it's only I who is doing the most work to make this happen. We have a petition signed and we have
Ma'am,
at
one
least
second, please.
73
Ma'am,
responses.
1 second, please.
Sure.
We're hearing background noise. It's impossible for this council to hear what the lady is saying. If you need to have a conversation with someone else, that's great. Go outside for a few moments, have the conversation and come back. Ma'am, I'm sorry.
That's fine. In regards to diversity, I feel like you do a lot too. And I don't know if I can speak to you, but I am addressing you with this. I feel like you do a lot to divide us. And I don't think you say that you're not trying to, but I feel like you do the total opposite. If it's free for all of us to live and we all have to live in this community, I think it should be comfortable for all of us. You have a lot of space to just hop in your car and do whatever you want. Go here and enjoy yourself. Go here. We have very limited social and recreational institutions for our community of people. This is why we're speaking about our community of people, because that's what we're concerned about, our community. Sorry that we're not on your people or anyone else, but that's not the concern. It's our community, and what can we do to get more resources to
One
better
minute,
ourselves. We don't have businesses because we don't have the resources or money to do it. Where are we gonna get it from? Where can we get it from? We try real hard together as a community. We work hard for each other. We're giving each other our last dollars and last meals. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to feed my children. I look to the community and they come through. They come through. I've been fighting for my apartment because I installed a garden in the city because I thought it would be a great idea and it would promote social change. It would do better things for the community. And I saw that happening for the children in Aspen Children's Farm. Well, that's who we called it, Aspen Children's Farm, which I might add, we were awarded a $7,000 grant this past January by an organization from somewhere in a different state. I don't know. A lot going on, so I can't really keep up. But the garden, and I
Ma'am, I'm
think
sorry.
we should be able.
It's 5 minutes.
Right, okay, we don't get no more questions?
Council President, if I may, the housing issue was addressed. Thank you. Council President, the housing issue was addressed. That was housing that wasn't the city, as you're aware, for council members. I also wanted to share that for 2 years, the Bragg Park was given to members within the community to make decisions and direction. A flag was raised, a dedication ceremony was given, and the city took hands-off approach. We only provided resources. In fact, some of the last events occurred with no city name or involvement. Specifically, it was just, here are the resources, whatever you need. For 2 years, it was given. I must address, because Reverend Hagler asked me to say it, the outcry comes from members of the community. I did not arbitrarily go to Bragg Park and say, I've decided to change it. An outcry came from Union Baptist Church across the street and seniors on Burgess, on Highland, on Myrtle Avenue. There were individuals showing up in the morning, taking off their clothes completely and bathing right at Bragg Park. Yes, dealing with mental issue, but in proximity of two schools, school 19, school number 7. We added a Passaic County Sheriff's camera there. Even with the camera there, we had a stabbing and a violent incident. The response is not to take away. A statement was made that somehow a comment was made that everyone was drug dealers or criminals. That has never been stated. In fact, the families of Uptown and Second Ward are amazing, productive, committed residents of Passaic who have built up that community, homeowners. I know this because when I used to get up every morning to go to Miss Harvey's school number 7, I had to listen to those same families tell me what time to come into the house and where I could play. That statement has never been made by me or any member of this government. Now, we do not lie about the fact that there are those that engage in criminal activity. Those who are from Latino communities, from Black communities, from Jewish communities, from Muslim communities. There are teenagers that engage in drugs, that engage in violence from every community. I know I'm the mayor. I get the reports from the police. Every community. I have never stated one community is full of drugs or crime, because that's not true of any community. What I did state is that those from the area are aware of what's been going on for the last 2 years. I stated that the pandemic exacerbated some of those issues. We've tried to address them, but there are mothers walking their kids to school 19 and school 7. Listen, I get it. We don't want to take away from the community, but it's not fair for a child and a mother to walk to school, a teacher to go to lunch and see someone engaged in illicit activity in the middle of the day and have no one respond. Having a concession stand does not take away. The Bragg family concession stand will create a stream of revenue for the VFW, will provide coffee for teachers and churchgoers. So we know they're going to go. It's within 2 schools, and it will be run by the VFW. We have no problem with working with the community to do it. The city doesn't want it. We don't want it to go to Dunkin' Donuts. We don't want it to go to a millionaire. We want it to go to the VFW so that the VFW never has to rely on politicians to save it. That is responsible. That is taking the hands off. I didn't say we're going to take the park and create the Laura concession stand. I didn't say we're turning it into the Laura Park. We are adding more Bragg Park signs. We're making sure the Bragg family legacy continues and is expanded. So it's one thing to say you have to be a part of it or Laura name have to be on it. But that's not the truth. The truth is this is about the Bragg family. And if you know that the Bragg family supports it and you're still against it, then you don't really care about the legacy of the Bragg family. This is your personal position. You have a right to it, to say, I personally don't want you to change it. But don't make it about the Bragg family when they support it. Because Mr. Bragg himself told me he supported it before he passed on. And those of us who knew him know he would have been the first person to tell people there, stop doing what you're doing in the park. He would have been the first because he showed up when we did the Christmas tree lighting. And he loved it when the kids came, over 200 kids and teachers in schools. So again, the Bragg concession stand, the memorial isn't going anywhere, the bus stop isn't going anywhere, and the Bragg family has known about this and they support it. And what the president of the NAACP said is right. Their only issue was they want to be a part of it every step of the way, which the city has already said yes. So if it's about the Bragg family and it's about honoring the people from uptown, that's what we're doing. I'll repeat, it is not the Gary Shea Park, the Terrence Love Park, the Tanya Mello Park, the Chaim Monk Park, the Daniel Schwartz Park, the Joe Garcia Park, or the Maritza Colombo. And it's definitely not the Mayor Laura Park. It's the Bragg concession stand at the Bragg Park, the Carney P. Bragg Park. And I remind you again, I'll say it over and over, 212 Myrtle, right on the corner. I was born and raised there. Why would I take it away? It's a game that's being played. Look, there's things I've done you have every right to object to and disagree. Don't do this. Don't run around telling the community we're doing something we're not doing or make it about something that is not. And all we're doing is investing in the park. I became mayor. There was nothing there. There was no tables or chairs or trees or music. It was just a ground and a wall. I put tens of thousands of dollars into it. So how is it fair after ordering the investment in the park, making it what it is, when community members came to me and said, it's nice, we want to put up a flag, mayor, step away. I said, okay, I stepped away, but we know what it's become. I'm not making this up. You read it in the newspaper. I'm not making it up. You can walk by there. You know what it's become. So all I'm doing is investing more to make it better and leaving the name. And the council's going, yes, that's what we're doing in every area of the city, investing and improving. So you can't by one way say, why you don't invest here like you invest there? And then when we do invest, turn around and say, why don't you go invest somewhere else? How is that fair? If we were creating this in third ward, you go, why are you doing it there? Or in first ward, why are you doing it there? But now we're doing it here and you're saying, go do it somewhere else. It doesn't make sense. And that's what government is. It's answering questions with facts. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else like to address the council? I'm sorry, I didn't see him.
How you doing? John Willis, homeless. Mayor, all I hear is
Sir, please direct your comments to.
all I hear is I. What is the body of council for? This all I hear. This the same guy that wanna put his name on everything. But soon as it's time to take some accountability, I don't gotta be in this council meeting. It's called the council meeting. I'm the mayor. But the name is on the paperwork and everything. You don't take no accountability, Mayor. None whatsoever. We talk about Braggs Park because you just got me all over the place and I'm slightly overwhelmed. Hold on, let me just take a moment to process this. Seriously. You say that you from that area. That area was just a small little. You know, Braggs Park was there before you was mayor. You wrote it in a paper. Matt Fagan. You heard? NorthJersey.com. You heard? Now, let me get to the quick questions. You say it's to help the VFW. If you get $500,000 awarded and you fix up the park, what you gonna sell it for? That's a question I got for the council. Because if you invested $500,000 to fix up the park and you saying that you're gonna sell it to the highest bidder, how is that? Now, how is that gonna work in conjunction with the VFW? I'm just trying to figure some of these things out. Could you answer for that? I'm lost for words. How is that? Oh, excuse me. Do the city got a percentage? Is the city gonna be able to bid on the park? These are some of the tough questions I'm just asking. And also, how much was the VFW awarded to fix? We need to know some of these things. We need to know the purpose because Uptown is oversaturated with stores, as I wrote. You got over 150 stores within 500 feet of each other. What could they sell in a concession stand that we can't go get 100 feet away? These are just some of the questions. Make it make sense. This is why we're here. We just trying to make it make sense. And also, that's that for Braggs Park because I just want to touch on some things. And I don't know if I'm saying this right or wrong. I don't know, but you be using a lot of racial overtones or undertones as far as like during the Peruvian Day Parade. This as far as we go. Some of us don't got our passports to go to Clifton. I was just in Clifton yesterday at a little park down on Main Ave, relaxed and slept 2 hours. Slept 2 hours beautiful, peacefully. Sleep 2 hours at Braggs Park too, peacefully. Same way. But you just do a lot of things and like a lot scaring a lot of people because a lot of people in this community don't talk English. So you have a direct line to communicate with them. So when you say certain things in Spanish and English, we don't have our passports here, you deter them from coming to a good city. And there's plenty of work you can be doing, could be doing with infrastructure. It's potholes in front of that Chinese store that hold water. You heard when kids riding their bike, they damn near fall off it. When mothers have the kids in a stroller, cars go through, damn near splashing with water. It is money to be used for infrastructure. Beautify the city. You can be painting the yellow lines up there. You totally neglect us. You neglect the sewers up there. But you say right on the border of Clinton. But you'll say you the same man that say I want to highlight only the good about the city. We're so easy to talk about the bad. Let's highlight the good. But you go around and go on the paper and saying from this small area, predominantly blacks, where predominantly black people is at. Carney P. Braggs, a black brother name, associated with a funeral home. You saying we dead up there? When you say this was going illicit drug trade, prostitution, drinking, and all that. So what are you trying to imply? What are you trying to insinuate? Weed whacking need to be right where your sign used to be at. There's a lot of brush and bushes. So when you enter in Passaic, you can see that it's maintained and clean. You ain't even do that. So what type of view you trying to give the people? These are these questions. It's real life infrastructure problems. Look, I got would the council like to see videos of potholes that I got and of everything that could be done? I'm just asking these questions. I do got videos. I go around Main Ave. There's a lot of sidewalks cracked up. I damn near trip. Unleveled, uneven. It say easy and red on them. These are things that's supposed to be done. What are we waiting for? The money is here. But we try to, excuse me, but we try to sell out and privatize it. Answer these questions.
Your time is
Answer
up.
some of these questions. Thank you,
Sir.
Mayor.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you, Council President, if I may. First, if you would allow through the council, the passport statement on video was made to elected officials. Every year we did the parade and the Clifton mayor, James Anzaldi, would say, you don't have passports to enter.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Go.
questions,
You
Councilman.
got your chance.
I don't believe he may want the answers, but I do want to give it to the community. I do want to give it to the community. So council, so elected officials who were on the video, I shared with the elected official. I said, with the elected officials, you don't have your passport to enter into Clifton. That was a reference to Mayor Anzaldi, who retired this year after being the longest standing mayor in Clifton. His Council President, I'm going to ask if he,
Mayor, just,
Danny is an elected official.
if I may interrupt you for just a moment, Mayor.
Sure.
You had your chance to speak. You feel the need to speak some more, go outside the hall. Because the next time I hear it again, I'm going to ask one of the officers to escort you out so that everyone else who wants to hear this can. Right? Whether you agree or disagree with anything that's being said, they have the right to talk. You have the right to talk. Give them the respect. And if not, we'll ask you to be removed. All right? Fair.
Thank you, Council President, as I remained silent while people were speaking on the mic. So I want to share. You ask questions, go on the record to give answers. That's what you came to ask the mayor for, so I'm going to answer. Again, the passport issue was about Mayor Anzaldi. Every year he would tell elected officials, you don't have the passports to come into Clifton. So I turned to Board President Danny Rodriguez, an elected official, and said, Board President, you don't have your passport. Maybe you have your passport to go in, but the rest of us don't. That was Mayor Anzaldi's joke to all the elected officials. He was born in Passaic, went to St. Anthony's. That was my homage to him. Had nothing to do with the community or any immigrant. In terms of selling Bragg Park, the concession stand would be like the Boathouse. We didn't sell Third Park. The Boathouse is leased to a community member. They sell products and use it for community activities. So the concession, the Bragg Park concession stand would be the same, bringing revenue into the VFW. The memorial wall would remain, the bus stop would remain, people would be able to stay there. In terms of prostitution, I never mentioned prostitution at Bragg Park. I don't know why it keeps being mentioned. I never stated that. I never brought that up. I never stated that. I can't answer as to why a writer would write what he writes. The idea that someone mentions a writer's name, a writer can decide to say anything about us. I can only tell you about my words. I can only answer for them if I choose. In regards to clarifying about accountability, I've often told the community, you have every right to push back. That's why I go on Facebook, so no one ever says you were hiding. Every complaint I get about initiatives is because someone says, I saw you talking about it. I don't hide my initiatives. I tell the community so they can come out and say, I don't like it, or I do like it, or I knew you were gonna do that, or you said you were gonna do that a year ago. I've never hidden a single initiative. That's why I use social media. When I explain it's a council meeting, is to be clear, you can go to any other city. Mayors don't go to council meetings. I go to council meetings so that any resident who wants to say good or bad about me can see my face because you elected me. I should stand before you and face you. I don't have to because I'm not required to be at council meetings. It's called a council meeting, not a mayor's meeting. Most mayors don't go. You can go look at it. The only time you see mayors go is when they're members of the city council. I'm not a member of the city council, but I come. That's why the business administrator answers the questions. That's why through Robert Rule of Order, it's not because Assemblyman or Council President Scheer says he wants you to talk to him. The order of council meetings is questions are directed to the council president because it's a council meeting. It's not a mayor's meeting. That's why oftentimes I stay silent unless you direct something at me. I'm not trying to say something about whether the person who speaks should hear from me or whether I should talk. I just know the rules of government. And lastly, look, I don't know how else to say it. Anyone who heard me speak must have heard me say brag at least 100 times. You can say I keep saying I, But I keep saying Bragg Park, Bragg family. It's about the Bragg family. I spoke to the Bragg family. I spoke to his son. It's about the VFW. It's about the Bragg family. If you take issue, and this goes for residents, with all due respect, elected officials, leaders, community leaders, former elected officials, look, if you don't like my name on something, that's fair. Come up with your own idea and put your name on it. But if I come up with an idea, I don't put my name on somebody else's idea. I have never put my name on somebody else's idea. I will be the first one to tell you somebody else came up with that, and I support it. But I'm going to tell you straight up, if I get up at 4 a.m. and drive around and identify something and do it, I'm going to tell you I did it because you're supposed to hold me accountable. Just like somebody gives a report at work and say, what have you done all year? I tell people what I do as mayor. I don't do it to gloat. I promise you, the day I'm out of politics, I won't do any more videos. I do it so that when you look at me, you say, if I voted for you, I know you're working. And if I didn't vote for you, I still know you're working. And so you can say, I don't like what you're doing, or I do like it. So that's the reason why I do it, is so everybody knows. I don't ask everybody to love me. I don't ask everybody to support me. I'm not a gold coin that everybody would like me. I'm a human being. You could like or dislike me, but I'm going to tell you what I do. So if I come up with an initiative, I put my name on it so that if you like it or you don't, you know who to point to. And when I do it, I'm going to tell you, I told you I was going to do it, just like the 100 steps. If you say I'm not interested in the second ward, look around. Whether we're doing Harrison Street, whether we're doing Summer Street, whether we're paving First Street, whether we're adding parking on 3rd Street, whether we have a $16 million park downtown on Wall Street and East Monroe, it is every ward that's getting invested. So I have no problem being the target. I have no problem with you responding to me and saying that you're angry at me. But know this, I'm going to tell you, hey, no, officers, you will not allow someone to address an individual who is not creating an issue. So I understand. I understand. I understand.
Nothing else me and my family, and all we wanted to do was develop the community, give the community something, educate something to do, because the fucking basketball court didn't work. And then you came and you took full credit for the basketball court too, when I just asked you last year. That's a shame.
Oh, you want credit for it?
Me and my children have no home.
Those who are from the community understand the challenges in housing. I will not address a mother nor disrespect someone who's going through something, so I'll let that be. This is what I want to say, and I'll conclude with it. Look, this is a council meeting. I don't want to monopolize the meeting, and I can go long. Y'all know I can go long. I give speeches. I give speeches. Yeah, you know, I give speeches. But the reason why I address it is because if you come and ask a genuine question, I don't back down. Not a single person here didn't get a chance to talk to me face to face. Every single person that has spoken in the mic has seen me in front of them, not with cops around. You've seen me around Passaic. I don't walk around with bodyguards. Walk up and down the city, whether I'm on my bike or by myself, whether it's 12 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll stop and talk to anybody. I'm not asking you to agree with me. All I'm asking is for you to give us the benefit of the doubt if what we're doing is right. And if you believe that it's not, then question us. But have at least be fair enough to hear the answer, not just to make the statements and walk away. Because if you hear the answer, then verify it and say, I'm gonna call the Bragg family and ask them, did the mayor actually speak to you? Did the mayor talk to you about your father? Did the mayor ask you? Did the mayor tell your father when he was on the wheelchair at the Christmas tree lighting that he was gonna do this and your father said, I love it? Did he actually do this? Because if I say it and it's not true, you have every right to call me on it. But if I did it, and the Bragg family's for it, and if the community garden was requested of the city and we said we wanted to help, but something occurred with housing where it wasn't done right, you don't get to blame housing or the city. We've done community gardens by Pulaski. We're doing one by Thurwood Park. We do community gardens. We want community gardens. So look, I'll just add this. Yes, I get it. There's individuals that are going through tough times, and Bragg is personal. It's personal to me. So we used to hang out. But that's the first point of entry into our city. The first thing people see when they drive in from another city is Bragg Park. It used to be the Herald News. I know. It used to be the Herald News on Highland. If you're from up there, that's what you know. The Herald News was the first building people would notice when you drove in from Clifton. Back in the day, it was the first thing people would see when you drove into Passaic. Now it's a school, but Bragg Park is a point of entry. So when we fixed it up, when we added the benches and the trees and families were hanging out there, that was beautiful. Mr. Braggs loved it. And I say it again, for 2 years, we took our hands off it. I've spoken to individuals personally and said, listen, we're gonna put a sheriff's camera here. We understand there's certain legalizations of substances, but you gotta remember, kids are going to number 19 school. Kids are going to number 7 school. They're seniors. They've said it, they can't even sit on the benches anymore. They can't sit on the benches anymore. So we said we're gonna create the Bragg concession stand to bring revenue to the VFW and enhance the park and add a sign to the Bragg family. I can't help it. People go on social media and say we're going to take it away or it's against somebody. I can only tell you the truth. And I'm going to repeat it. If you keep saying the same thing over and over, it's because if it's the truth, why should it be different? If you're telling the truth, every time you say it, it should be the same thing. So I keep saying the same thing because it's the truth. And not a single initiative that's been done, at least since I've been mayor, I'll tell you this, supported by this council or pushed by this council, has ever been against the community. It's always been about what's best for the whole community. So look, when I say I, in terms of Bragg Park, it's because I want to make clear, I am to blame for it. I am to blame to want to fix it. I'm 100% to blame. As mayor, I'm the chief executive of the city. That is accountability. When I say I, it's because I don't run from being the one responsible. I want people to know if I don't like it, I'm not going to vote for you. I don't blame the council when I come up with something. I don't go around secretly and say it was him or it was council president or it was this. I say it was me. So that if you don't like it, you can be angry at me. You can say I won't vote for Hector Laura because I pushed the initiative. And if you do like it, often I'll say we did it. Right now it's a controversial issue. So yes, I'm in front of it. Just like every other controversial issue I've stood up for. Every time, this ain't the first time I was in the paper for a controversial issue, whether I tear down something in a community, whether Latino or others get angry at me, like the statue that was down on Hope, everybody said that was Hector Laura. I never hid and said it was the council. I said it was me. I've always stood in front of what I've done. It's not a different approach. But again, this meeting shouldn't be about me. So if you have a genuine question about government, ask and we'll respond and we'll be fair. But you know what's going on in Bragg Park. You know what's going on. So if you come up here and say it's not going on, it's not being sincere. Now, if you have a solution, if you tell me, hey, Mayor, we have a better solution. We can stop what's going on there and honor the Bragg family. Now, you asked a question, how much for VFW? $2 million. How did it occur? Call Habitat for Humanity. When VFW was lost, and it was lost, the building was lost, it was gone. They lost it. I called them and said, you're not going to lose the VFW. Grew up around the corner from there. That's where we went for repasses and Halloween. We didn't have anything. We were broke. We were broke, man. I'll say it publicly. I had to go to school sometimes with my mother clothes on. We didn't have money. We had to put on garage sale clothes. We had money. So the VFW meant the world to kids like us. We used to go there to get candy or spend time. So I told Minnie, you're not losing the building. Give me a little bit. I called Habitat for Humanity, Scott. You can ask Scott. Scott is a preacher who worked with a church that I worked with in Jersey City. I called them. I called the BA. I called community development. And I said, I have an idea. Can we create housing on top of VFW and save it? He said, well, it hasn't been done around the nation before. We could try it. And it got approved. Then I held a community meeting. I didn't do it alone. Many of you came. I said, hold on. Let's have a community meeting. And I asked, what do you think? And brought the community into it. And said, Minnie, why don't we unite all of the veterans under one building? DAV, Foreign Legions, and the VFW, so they're not separate, so it can thrive. And it won't belong to the city. It'll always be yours. The reason why I did the Bragg Park and the revenue was because there's no time limit on the mayor. Run if you want to be able to do the same. Now listen, if the VFW was to be lost again, because it was lost, you can ask many, you can ask the members. They lost the building. It was getting shut down and taken away. And I said, hold it. Either we're going to save it or we'll find something to save it. And we did. If that revenue can be a steady stream along with those who live on top and Habitat for Humanity, here's how it benefits the VFW. I'm obviously not going to be mayor for life. I don't know who's next mayor. I don't ever want the VFW to be in a position I have to come to City Hall and say, save me again. What if that mayor doesn't care about Second Ward? What if that mayor says, you lost your VFW, we want to sell it? So I'm putting the VFW in a position where they will never again be dependent on government, where they will be self-sufficient, because VFWs are closing around the nation. I went all the way to Washington, D.C. to speak to the head of HUD, Marcia Fudge, face to face. I spoke to her about this plan and the investments for housing by myself. I went all the way up to Washington to speak to her. I didn't go representing a group or some video. I went so that if she told me, if you represent the city, can get the city on board, we can send funds, because that's what mayors do. They advocate. They go speak to Congress people. They go speak to legislators. They don't respond to every comment on Facebook, because Facebook's great for communication, but you can't run government through Facebook. Thank you.
Good evening, Jermaine Gibson Williams, 231 Sherman Street, lifelong city resident. I want to say this, and I'll address the council, but I want to make a statement. Many statements have been made that here in this city is set up for certain people, certain groups, certain areas. My friend right here, Miss Renee, and she'll tell you, and I can show you our phone logs. We talk 2-3 times a day because we're always looking for a different opportunity, a different way to give back to the children and our seniors in the city of Passaic. For the last 4 years, we have been having since the pandemic, we've had a Halloween trick-or-trunk. Then we had an Easter egg hunt. And now this is the 3rd year we're going to have our book bag drive. It is open to everyone. It's here in the city. The mayor, he donates. His name is not on the flyer. There's none of our names. The only way our name is on the flyer if we are a point of contact, because we do what we need to do for the city. We don't sit back and ask, well, why isn't the city doing this? You know what we do? When something is not being done, guess what we do? We get up and do it. It's just that simple. No, we don't have money pouring out of our pocket to do everything that we want to do. But guess what? We get city support. I can look at all the individuals up here, and almost more than half of the individuals in the audience, they support what we do because it needs to be done. Someone mentioned about a garden. If a garden needs to be done, guess what? You got to get with the right people to get what you want to get. I'm sorry. Some people talk about, and I know I'm going to be Facebook famous. I know I'm going to be Facebook famous after this, but some people want to say, oh, they don't care about Second Ward. I live in Second Ward, Sherman Street. Like I said, born and raised in the city, Aspen Place. I've been all over this city. This city is not just for one individual. Every day on Facebook, I'm posting things that are going on with the children, things that are for the children. The event here tonight, someone mentioned, oh, it's a certain group of people here tonight. That's because the other group don't want to be here. It's open to everyone. Ain't nobody outside stopping nobody saying, oh, no, you can't come here. You can't be here. It's open to everybody. There was a comment about the police academy. My son went through the police academy. All the kids went through the police academy. The information is sent home. The information is on Facebook. You choose to pick what you want to do. And the problem is we sit back and say, oh, that ain't for our kids, but you never step up to the door and say, hey, can mine come in? Plenty of people are saying they don't let us. I don't know who the us is, but the us ain't me and the us ain't Miss Renee. They say they don't let us do what we want to do. I'm here to say it publicly. If something you want to do and you claim they won't let you do it, talk to us. If it's something worth doing, it'll get done. It'll get done. Because that's what we do. We don't sit back and wait. And unfortunately, because people want to get on Facebook and talk what they think rather than just asking the question. Me and Miss Renee spoke about this earlier. We knew the whole situation with Bragg's Park because it was clearly stated in the last meeting. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the last meeting. It was clearly stated what was being done and how it was going to be developed. But everybody want to take what bits and pieces makes their case look better and throw it up there. People should have stayed to make their claim here. Don't get riled up, then leave, and you can't, and then say, oh, well, I couldn't say nothing because they put me out the meeting. No, you got up and left. You got up and left. Like I said, I know I'm going to be Facebook famous for this one. But guess what? Like the man said, I'm covered. I'm covered. I'm covered by the blood, and I'm covered by a man named Mr. Williams, who was my husband. So I'm not worried about anybody. But back to the point what I'm trying to make, we do when we say what's best right now. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If anyone, if you see me after this, if you're watching this, if it was ever a time you went to go do something and you were approached and told that you couldn't do it, I want to know when that happened, because sometimes me and Miss Renee are the only individuals of color in certain things that go on. Sometimes we are the only ones, and the information is all over Facebook. There's no reason why you're not there. But you know what the problem is? Oh, they don't want us there. No, you don't want to be there. You don't want to take the time to get up and bring your kids and bring them to a situation. Last year, we had a book bag drive. Young lady came. She had 6 passports in her hand for the kids. We told the kid had to be there. She said, okay. She left. She came back with a whole van. At that point, she had about 12 of them with her. That lady didn't speak any English, but she understood, and she went and got those kids. And the unfortunate thing is, we look at it like, oh, it's only for those people. It's only for that group. See, I was about to say a word I shouldn't say, but that's a lie. That's a straight up lie. Everything that's done in this city is open to everyone.
Your time, ma'am, is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sharon Batchelor, and I live at 250 Sherman Street. I'm here in reference to the parade that took place on Sunday. I don't mind parades taking place nowhere. It covered from Main Ave, I think on Gregory Ave, all the way to Patterson. Service happened on Sundays, church goer, here I am. We have parishioners that come out of town. We were not warned, and if we were, someone have to tell me when the letter went out to let us know that this was going, so we could make plans, alternative. So that's my one thing. Were there letters that were sent out to the residents or to the churches? If so, I would like a copy of that. And if not, then when this happens, especially on a Sunday, can we put something in place that there will be letters in advance going out to the churches so we won't run into this again?
To answer your questions, number one, to the best of my knowledge, the city has never sent out notices to churches or other businesses or other entities. But it is something that I think we can consider and debate and see the practicality of it. And if we can do it, we certainly will. The last thing in the world that we wanted was to have people disrupted from their worship on Sunday morning or Saturday morning or Friday morning. So we apologize for the inconvenience.
Okay. Now you said if we could do it, how could I help to make it happen?
Well, one of the problems, the biggest problem is that sometimes we get notified very late that things like this are going to happen. So if we get notified very late, things fall between the cracks. So we've got to figure out if there's a way to make sure things don't fall in between the cracks.
Council President, if I may, at times parades are contingent upon payments for police and traffic. And I'll share with you the day of the parade, the day before the parade, they just paid Patterson. So the final approval came, so I'm going to share, you are right. The communication, and we typically tell the faith-based leaders that we're going to have parades because we have them every year, and we have proposed trying to do them on Saturdays. The parade goers put in their application for a specific date. For some reason, traditionally, parades have been held on Sundays for many communities. They get the approval from Clifton. I think it's the only parade they do is the Peruvian parade. They do it every year. So because it is the only parade that involves 3 municipalities, they stick to the date that all 3 municipalities can agree upon. But on this one, you are 100% correct. They had a split, not to get into their personal issues, and they broke into 3 different factions, and they were still trying to figure out to the last minute if they can pay for the parade. We try to be as accommodating as possible because the challenge is if we've done it for one group for their parade, we create precedent and we have to try to offer the same resources and assistance to other groups. Because there's been other groups that have come last minute saying we were trying to get the money, we were trying to get the final approval, and we've done it within reason. When we can, we make the accommodations. On this one, Council President is correct. We got informed last minute that they got all their approvals and they were ready to go. It was very difficult. We received complaints from many churches on that day. So here's what we'll do. I personally, and on behalf of the administration, would like to apologize to you and the community for the inconveniences that were created. Sometimes when government chooses to try to help our groups, we create a burden on the rest of the community. But it comes from a place of trying to support diversity and say, look, well, since Clifton and Patterson approved, we approved, we'll accommodate you. We will discuss with the council to see if we can come up with either a later hour or potential Saturday accommodations for parades, especially if we know that they're going to go down routes where we have the majority of our faith-based organizations. This one was difficult. They started at 9. They didn't get going to about 11:30. I share personally, our church has 2 services at 9 and 11. I had the pastor text me and say, you better make it to one of them. So yes, I understand. Again, our apologies for the inconvenience.
Okay. But just time me in or where I could get in contact with someone, because I would like to be involved with that to see it happen.
Through the clerk's office, through the council president, that's where every application goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to address
We
the
have
council,
someone on
please?
Zoom, Council President.
I'm sorry,
Carl
ma'am?
Singer on Zoom.
Very good. We'll take, Ms. Griggs, we're going to take the gentleman on Zoom first.
Okay, I can stay.
Sure way.
Good evening, thank you.
Who's on? Mr. Singer, please.
My name is Carl Singer. Can you hear me? I hope. In
Yes, we can hear you.
1995, my family chose to move to Passaic, and we've lived on the corner of Spring and Howard for 28 years now. When we moved, Howard was a lightly traveled street. There was a double yellow line down the center. Things were quiet. When Route 21 was extended to feed routes 46 and 80, things changed. First, the noise. The new construction got sound barriers. We didn't. Second, traffic, a noticeable increase in traffic and much speeding. Using a radar gun, I documented the speeding and forward some of this to the city. My numbers are unofficial, but somebody needs to measure. What gets measured gets managed. We need measurement and enforcement. Secondly, we need additional signage noting that the speed limit is 25 on Howard, and the corner of Spring and Howard must be a 4-way stop. Today, pedestrians, school children going to and from school put their life in their hands trying to cross Howard at Spring. I believe we need action. We need someone to measure and see what's going on, and we need enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singer. We'll ask the business administrator to be in touch with our police chief to look at the situation. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Ms. Griggs, you're next.
Good evening, Renee Griggs, 23 Aspen Place, apartment 6C. Sometime when I come to the meeting, I don't know if I'm going to say anything or not, but I think tonight I needed to say so. Plus Jermaine put me on blast. I want to say this. Mayor, I remember when a group of young men wanted to open up a photo booth on Summer Street. You were there and you cut that ribbon. I remember when a young man wanted to open up a store, a bodega on the corner of State and Passaic and Columbia Ave. And it was during the pandemic. You helped him cut through the red tape because he asked me who to call. These all were African-American young men. You're right. Businesses don't thrive because we don't support. I have been coming to city council meetings since Fred Curran was the interim mayor. Some people don't even know who that is. That was the mayor after LaParry and between Morris Similar. I have worked with Chief Jack Cologne, Richard Warlock, Stanley Jurinsky, Daniel Patton, Richie Diaz, Paz, Capuana, and now I call him my husband, Lou Guzman. I have worked with City Clerk Tina Farinello, Wanda Shabaka, Amanda Curlin, now Wesley Frias. I say all this to say, you gotta come and do your due diligence. You gotta come in and find out the correct information. You gotta come in and do the proper paperwork, which I am on the agenda tonight for something we are having on August the 26th. I have never had any difficult time working with anybody. But oftentimes when people come in to the clerk's office and say, oh, why we gotta do this and why we gotta do that, and then you let Miss Renee get her way, I loved it, Amanda Curlin, because she would go to the file cabinet and pull out years of folders of permits. Since 1995, it is now 2023. My people, if we want to do something, we got to come correct. We got to come correct. It's a lot of establishments for one reason or another, like I told my grandkids, they love the Domain Garden, Chinese restaurant right there on Summer and Harrison and Maine. I loved it too, because I don't drive, and they delivered. But when we felt disrespected, I did not spend another dime in that place. So we do have choices with our dollars. And then when you are a person of color, you get a job, a little status, a little support or help. My own community would say we are ass kissers. My own community would say we are ass kissers, and I don't remember anybody kissing anybody's butt. I have mixed it up with every last one of you on that podium.
Too many times.
So I say this to say, I grew up at 286 Sherman Street, right around the corner from the Bragg's funeral home. Didn't know it until when I was a little girl, but my grandfather and Miss Eunice Braggs come from the same hometown in Virginia, Farmville, Virginia. So we were very much aware and friends with the Bragg family. I have now the director of the family's, the funeral home, Derek McKay, phone number in my cell phone because him and his mother lived upstairs on the Myrtle Avenue property since he was a young boy, and we played on the mountain in the 100 stairs. They are not opposed to it. I speak to Derek all the time. They are not opposed to it. I want to clear up some stuff. The past director of the Passaic Housing Authority, Victor Cirilla, and the past mayor, Dr. Alex Blanco, spent so much money trying to find out whose fault it was while the basketball court was sinking. I said to both of them, y'all should have just went and fixed the damn thing, all the money y'all spent. This 1 week, this one had the camera going down the pipe. Next week, the other one. It wasn't until Hector took over for a minute and I had the conversation with you. You said, once I find out who fault it really is, we will get it fixed. Thank you. It was your fault. As the chief official of the city, yes, you fixed it. You found the money, so you
1
should
minute,
take
please.
credit. We have to do what is proper to do to get what we want as a community. Spear has always been an open site, and we will continue to be an open site. We welcome each and every person that comes.
Madam Clerk, anyone else on the line?
Yes. Oh, no. They put their hand down.
I'm sorry, did they
No, no one on Zoom.
put their
sir.
hand down? Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Roger Nelson, 160 Spring Street, Passaic, New Jersey, neighbor of the mayor.
Oh, not me?
No, the mayor. He know what I'm talking about. When I say neighbor, the mayor knows what I'm talking about. So moving
He
forward.
does that a lot, actually.
So about Bragg Park, there's hearsay. I always say, go to the source. If you want to find out what's going on, go to the source. So you got to come to the meetings. If you don't come to the meetings, you're not going to know anything. So that's why I'm here today. I found out that whatever everybody was saying wasn't even true. So I thank Mayor, I thank Sean Allen for saying that they talked to the Braggs family and they behind it 100%. But one of the things that Braggs did tell me they wanted done was on 143 Myrtle Avenue, the parking in front of the funeral home. They need a yellow line there, so no parking can be there when they're having services, because if you try to give someone a ticket, there's no sign that says no parking. So you can't tow, you can't ticket because there's no sign. So they need that sign up, and they need a yellow line painted in front of 143 Myrtle Avenue. Secondly, I have a dog, I walk in the park, the water's not running when you want to feed the dog with the hoses, the water is off. My dog is, he need water. So I gotta carry water so he can get water. They used to have the hose on. I don't know why, but if we can get that turned back on, I would appreciate that. And I think that's it. If Brass can get that painted line in front of 143 Myrtle Avenue and a sign that says no parking, I'm fine, whatever you guys are doing with 100% with the park. If Braggs is behind it, I'm behind it. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Pedro Ruiz, 139 9th Street in Passaic, New Jersey, apartment 7. Good evening to all of you. I just want to inform you guys that I'm a county committee member of my ward, Ward 1, and we have a big issue down in parking. The problem that is going on there is that there's cars with Connecticut license plate, other states parking there, and then when residents come at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning from work or from wherever, they park by a stop sign or a fire engine, and then they get a ticket. Is there a way where we can try to solve this problem out, create like maybe like a permanent like lift in Garfield to try to help the residents out?
We can try anything that we can. The mayor had pushed, to his credit, for something like this. And I will admit to you that as president of the council, I pushed back, right? This big problem in Passaic, it's the same problem as in every urban area. Urban areas were not designed for cars. There's another problem, and that is that most of us who have a significant other or older children, they have cars. So it's not that one family has one car. It's that one family has 6 cars or 3 cars or 4. There simply are not enough parking. There simply is not enough parking. Ideas have been given. Those ideas, some of them warranted very well, some of them not. Some of them solved the problem until the problem would arise. To his extraordinary credit, the mayor has built several, attacked this issue in several respects. in terms of diagonal parking, which increased a number of parking spaces. There's in the coming year or next 2 years, I believe we'll have a parking garage servicing, how many cars would that be?
Council President, over 300, but I also want to remind the community that the parking permit initiative downtown from First Street going straight down, the signs go up this week. It is a pilot program. Yes, I see Ms. Robinson is very excited. It was approved through the council. We did the traffic study in order to ensure that we were taking a responsible approach and addressing the issue without trying to create further problems. It is overnight parking permits, since we identified that we were getting a large number of individuals from our wonderful neighboring municipalities in Bergen County. They were leaving their cars here because there's parking permits there. So I have proposed before the council to do parking permits all through downtown. We've also done some on Monroe, and we're looking at other areas where we see the problem. The challenge is we don't want to create parking permits where they're not needed and would deter individuals from wanting to come to the city. So we're trying to take a very strategic and pragmatic approach, but the signs go up this week. The parking lot by East Monroe Park by the senior building and from First Street all the way through will be parking permit only for residents of the city of Passaic. That means any car that is not from Passaic will be told, and I share with you, some have seen, I had hired an overnight PO, that's the patrol enforcement officer. They are driving around at night. This is the first time we have ever had overnight patrol enforcement. They're going after commercial vehicles on the streets and those who are not from the city. This week, we are looking to hire an additional one. It is the very first time in the city that we've done is an initiative that I proposed in order to make sure to address the overnight issues. We are getting the reports, as you can imagine, Council President, the first week was very hectic. But now, most residents, especially in our downtown, are seeing a little bit of relief. It's going to take a bit before commercial vehicles and those who are not from the city understand that we are enforcing it. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll be bringing on a second one, and they'll be driving around overnight writing tickets for those who are commercial vehicles on the road taking away parking. To remind the community, after 10 o'clock, commercial vehicles cannot park on public streets after 10 o'clock. And now, without a parking permit, you will not be allowed to park there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Donald McNair, 233 Gregory Avenue, City of Passaic. When Bragg Park was first constructed, I was at the dedication when Mr. Carney Penrod Bragg Sr. was alive, and it was dedicated to him. My brother and myself were the two Boy Scouts who presented to the Bragg family the original plaque that's in that wall now and the first flag that flew in that park. When that day came, it was a sense of pride. When I drive past that park now, it's a train wreck. Now, I done left Passaic and came back to Passaic. Excuse me, I'm talking. You had your chance. Keep your ignorance over there. It's a train wreck. The times that I passed through that park, just to leave Passaic, brothers on the corner drinking, brothers in the corner in the park hanging out all times of the night. Park unkept. If our mayor wants to upgrade this park, and if he wants to better this park for the sake of pride in that community, and if the Bragg family is for it each and every step of the way, get out the way and let it be done. I'm sick and tired of all this Facebook gangster stuff. I'm sick and tired of people coming up with no sense of truth or facts. If you don't know the facts, leave the naysay out in the street. Don't matter.
Sir, please, I don't want to have an officer take.
You don't want to go one-on-one with me. We can take that outside verbally. All right, then, be quiet. So if the Bragg family is for it, let's do it. let's do it, because it was a sense of pride. It was a sense of pride in that Second Ward community. It was a sense of pride that we got a chance to have a memorial to honor our own who did something for the community, okay? And to let it go by the wayside is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. So we want to upgrade this thing, let's do it. Let's do it. That's all I got to say. Let's do it. If the Bragg family is for it, let's get it done. Because it's a sense of pride. If you don't have no pride in yourself, my pastor always told me it's a poor frog that don't praise its own tub. And if you have no pride in what you believe in and where you live, then enough is enough.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. McNabb. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, please, Ms. Robinson.
Evelyn T. Robinson, 222 6th Street, Passaic. And number one, I am so pleased that the history lessons have been brought forth here. Folks, before I ran for the board, I went to board meetings 10 years before I decided to run, because I wanted to learn how each department operated. We were part of our parent group. And then, you were part of the parent advisory council, and we wanted to know exactly what were the rules and regs, and to understand what the budget was about, what our role was as parents and community and student advocates. And I remember some people approached me, oh, you should run for the board. I said, well, I don't know that much. Well, they don't know. I said, so you want another dummy up there? You've got to do your homework. And I think we need to go back to civics classes for folks to know the role and responsibility of those who are elected and those who are appointed in various departments, so that we will know exactly how does that roll. What is that? You guys have a public budget meeting. There's public budget meetings. There's planning boards. There's redevelopment. I signed on to get all your alerts. Anytime there's a meeting, anytime there's a planning board, anytime I get the agenda at home, I read it, I go through it, and that way I know exactly, like I know we're on the agenda tonight. But I think that maybe some board members, maybe something needs to be done with reestablishing civics back in the schools. And that those who say that they are for advancing the community, do your homework. You can't speak from ignorance, because all you have is a bunch of lies, naysaying, and all that going on. It doesn't make any sense. It's not how we are to go forward. That's now how we're going to make positive change. You're not going to agree with everything, but let's come to some compromise, and let's do it with some decency and in honor. And Deacon McNair, my pastor, used to say the same thing: a poor frog that doesn't praise his own pond. And that's what we have to do. And you have to do the positive. Born in the Bronx, but I love 07055. I'm from the boogie, and I get a sense of relief when I cross the bridge or the tunnel. But when I'm home, I love 07055. And I know the potential. I've seen the potential, and I've seen the growth. And though you said it, because that 45 said it first, promises made, promises kept, I didn't like that. But you've made your promise, you've kept promises, and you've been open with some of the things that you have not been able to accomplish. And I thank the various departments who have taken the patience and have walked me through what I'm supposed to walk through, though sometimes I've handed stuff in late, right, readily. But I know the process, and I know what I'm supposed to do. And I know that we have to have things in so you could vote
on our petitions and our ideas and plans in a timely manner so we can plan. I thank you for placing. I have my paperwork all done. I have my meeting with the departments tomorrow. Really, dealing with our KDM Johnson Family and Friends Day on August 19th. I need your help, Mayor. I need all your help. Things that we had said that was going to take place, but I couldn't do any of that without the help of the department. And I couldn't do any of that without going to the city clerk's office and saying, what do I need? How do I go about this? What is the time factor? I know I got 1 minute. What is the time factor? They patiently walk you through. They call you. If something's missing, you get the phone call. I need this. I need that. They will work with you. But don't say no one's here to help you if you don't go get the right help. And if you don't know where to go, ask somebody. There's no reason for all of this. There's no reason for the meanness. There's no reason for the animosity. There's no reason for any of that. And I'm gonna tell you, as a woman, a Black woman with the name of Albertina Monserrate Garcia Ritchie Smith from Guayama, Puerto Rico, and my father from Manhattan, whose father was from Virginia. I speak both languages and I understand it well.
Ms.
And I
Robinson,
know
thank
what we
you very much for
represent.
your comment.
So I thank you, Mayor Laura, and I thank all the rest of you for the support of what
Time
we've
is up,
done.
please.
God bless you all.
We'll take a 5-minute break, please. Reconvene at 5 to 9.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to address the council who has not already had that opportunity? Yes, sir.
On the agenda tonight, there is a final hearing for a long-term tax exemption for a warehouse. And the final
I'm
agenda.
sorry, sir, your name, please?
Yosef Wolf.
Thank you.
And on the final agenda is for another tax pilot long-term for another project. My first question is, this is a public meeting. I don't know what the city council members have, but I cannot access on the city's website any information about what is being proposed. What is the tax pilot for? On ordinance number 41. That's my first question. This happens all the time. There's not enough documents uploaded to the city website. In 2021, the city approved a long-term tax pilot for 6th Street, where the former train depot was. And at that meeting, Council President Gary Scherer responded to my question about these tax pilots and said there's only, and this has been repeated since then, there's only a short-term 5-year or a long-term 30-year. And if we want to do a long-term, we simply have no choice. It's not our laws. In fact, the New Jersey School Boards Association lays out for schools how to understand the effects of pilots on their budgets. And I quote, and they're talking about the step up that happens to pilots after. Can we get a new mic for the public maybe? It says, additionally, this is an organization, the state organization, additionally, after 15 years, there is a minimum step up of traditional taxes paid. For example, if the pilot is structured for 20 years, after 15 years, the payment would revert to 20, 40, 60, 80. The Bayonne Council introduces, I'm quoting Bayonne News, Bayonne Council introduces pilot agreements with developers. In this article, it quotes that there's a council member over there, La Pelusa, first objected to ordinances citing the length. In 2020, this is a year before Councilman Garishberg quoted that you can only do a 30-year. In 2020, the council adopted an ordinance limiting pilot agreements to 20 years. Following its passage, the council viewed to revisit the issue in the future with the intention of possibly lowering in 2021 to 15 years. But in this council, we're told by the city commissioner that you can only do 30 years or 35 years after the signed agreement. It's untrue. It's been quoted in this public meeting. Why don't we know that we should be able to review what the financials of the developer is? Why am I saying that? Because this city is not only developed because of people developing multifamilies and warehouses. There's also people who have houses that take care of their lawns, take care of their houses, put up new siding, develop their own properties, and they're not entitled to anything but increase in taxes. But the developers who have income, and clearly they ran the financials when they bought the property, after they bought the property, somehow come to the city and they got 30 years or 35 years. They're bringing additional costs to the city, while the homeowners are just trying to live and raise their families. And they have income, but the city decides to commit to 30 years or 35 years when many members here will not be sitting in this chamber, at least representing the public. And they're committing that these people and these developers are going to have less taxes than everyone else, while they bring consistently more costs. And for that property that I mentioned earlier about 6th Street, this council claims that there was a report submitted that this developer had tremendous costs because of COVID. COVID costs have come down, lumber has come down, but they deemed because of the increased costs of COVID for lumber that he got a 30-year pilot. Meanwhile, the price of lumber came down and he's building it after the price of lumber came down. So that was very short-sighted. Additionally, the price of rents have gone up 20%. Was that ever mentioned, that rents go up? Thank you very much.
Mr. Fernandez.
Yes, Council President?
Tell us about durations of pilots.
So there are different levels of pilots. Under redevelopment projects, there are two types. One is an area in need of redevelopment, which is up to a 30-year tax abatement. And for areas in need of rehabilitation, there's a 5-year. Contrary to the gentleman's comments, this council and this city has an ordinance where homeowners that are doing repairs can get a 5-year tax abatement under the New Jersey tax abatement law. There was another law, I don't know if the council remembers, where the city of Passaic was included, like Patterson and some of the other towns, where we could do up to a 20-year tax abatement. Just to remind the audience, this council voted against that, if you remember, Council President, because for us to do the 20-year abatement, the city had to give 10 years at $0. And we opted into the zone, but didn't opt into the tax abatement law and continued with the New Jersey state long-term tax abatement law, which is up to the 30 years. These all have payments. And not to get too long-winded, Council President, in a city like Passaic, where our tax bill is over 60% of the payment, a longer abatement is actually better for us to recoup our costs than a shorter abatement. That's just the way the math works out. So in this case, if we could do a 40-year, I'm telling you it's even better because we can make all our money back and then some, because of the way our tax bill is structured. Because in most municipalities, the school is the highest portion. But because of our assistance with our school budget, the municipal portion is the highest portion.
So the gentleman raised an interesting point, and that is that individuals who buy homes and live in them, they're not getting these benefits. Is that correct?
I would say that is incorrect.
Councilman Monk, can you help me on this?
Council President, answer your question.
Yes, sir.
There's the reason why the state instituted these pilot programs originally is to take properties, to help properties like the brownfields and so on and so forth that the cost to bring it up to speed was too great that no one would touch this land. So this gave people an incentive to develop these lots. A individual home, you don't need those incentives because the homes have the value. So the purpose of this was to take lots that were sitting vacant or were underperforming because of the cost to bring it up to speed, and to make it financially doable. That's why, like for instance, like the 8th Street fire site has been sitting empty for 30 years. This, by having a pilot program, we're in the long run, we're going to come out ahead. And I just want to also just piggyback a little bit what our business administrator was saying. If you look, every one of these pilot programs that the council approves, there is a graph that shows what the full taxes would be for this development if there was no pilot program, what the city's share of it, and that's what the business administrator was alluding to when he said that because we get 60% of the taxes stays locally, therefore the biggest share of those funds would come our way. And if you look at the graph, over the 30-year period of time, we pretty much come out with exactly the same amount of money. So what we have is we're getting the same amount of funds as if there would be no pilot, and if we do nothing, these properties would just sit vacant for another 10 or 20 years. So the city over 30 years loses nothing by doing these pilot programs, because we get the full percent, except for 5%. We get the full tax bill comes to the city. We don't have to share it, and that's how it makes sense for us to approve these type of pilots.
And again, forgive me, Councilman, your statement was that without these pilots, that we could not entice developers to come and develop.
I can't say that's the assumption. Now, obviously, that's what, that's why there's an application, and that's what's supposed to be looked at in terms of, the cost of the project, what the potential income is. And typically these pilots are supposed to be for properties, for developments that without the pilot program financially just doesn't work. You're not getting the rate of return that you need on a development. Now, if the developer outperforms what his initial projections are, I remember once, I have the pleasure of sitting on the redevelopment board and the council, and I remember one developer came before the redevelopment board, made a presentation of, what he's going to do, why it's so great, and how much money he's going to, make it. And I asked him, well, is this exactly what you're going to present to the council for your pilot program? And he was very honest. He said no, because when you apply for a pilot program, the numbers have to look a little bit not so rosy. But regardless of that, if a developer outperforms the program, and with the negotiations, is that we'll make more money because we get a percentage of revenue, not a percentage of revenue after expenses, a percentage of every dollar of rent. So if he gets more rent, we'll get minimally 10% of every dollar that he pulls in. And over the years, it goes up to as much as 70% we get. So there's a little bit of a win-win here. I think the fire site is a perfect example of a property sitting vacant for 30 years. So if it's just, say, for another 5 years or 10 years, and then you find someone who will come in without a pilot, in the long run, we lost.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to address the council?
Council President, before he goes.
Yes, sir. Councilman Love.
Yeah, it's always been a lot of controversy about what incentives do we give citizens. And if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure the business administrator can explain it better than I can, we passed an ordinance some time ago incentivizing citizens to do work and construction on their houses and free of tax increase, right? Depending on the number they stayed under the threshold. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Yeah, so we currently have an ordinance that allows repairs up to a certain dollar amount that you can apply to a 5-year abatement. But I'd also like to remind the council that the mayor proposed a pilot program all the way to the League of Municipalities where these improvements would not be taxed until the point of sale, where then the buyer would buy it and it would be taxed based on that improvement. And Mayor, I don't know if you want to add to that. We're still struggling to get them to approve it.
To put it in very layman's terms, I want people to be clear on it. I don't believe we should be taxed for aesthetic repairs. If you're not adding to the square footage of your home, why should you get taxed for redoing your kitchen, for making aesthetic fixes? I understand square footage, but even if you add, if you're not selling the home, why should you get taxed more? You're only beautifying the neighborhood. It de-incentivizes investment in your home. You buy a home, you want to fix it. Unfortunately, the way government is set up and it's statutes that go above us, there's a requirement where if you add to the square footage, if you repair your home, the value goes up, you get taxed more. So at the League of Municipality, I presented, but it's the League of Municipalities. I share with you that we have an assemblyman here who is supportive, but it would take the entire state to get supportive. I know there are council members like Councilman Monk and all of the council members who don't want to see taxes go up. But again, very basic. What I have presented was if you're investing in your home, you should not be penalized for this. You should be allowed to fix your home, new kitchen, new bathroom, change whatever you want. If you're not selling the home, why are we taxing you more? Now, if you sell the home and obviously there's greater value to the home, then of course it can be added on. But if you're going to live here, we should facilitate the improvement of your home and the betterment of the neighborhood. We shouldn't be taxing you for it. So that is my position. Thank you.
So Council President, if I may, I think it's important that that issue come up, right? And that topic come up because time and time again, there's so many ordinances. In fact, there's ordinances at every council meeting that's passed. And some of those more meaningful ones to our citizens, they get lost. So I just felt the need to just bring that up and make sure that it got added to the record, one, and to the public portion of this meeting. Because time and time again, this is all you hear. And I appreciate sitting, right next to Councilman Monk because this is one of his babies. And I learn a lot by sitting by him. And I thank him for pointing out to our citizens the benefits of tax abatements. Somebody put out there a long time ago a myth that tax abatement means you don't pay taxes. And that's what's still out there. Every single time you hear tax abatement, it's you don't pay taxes. And it's nothing's farther from the truth. There's formulas that's has to be approved. If I'm not mistaken, has to be approved by the state in order for tax abatements to come. And as Council President pointed out, or had Councilman Monk point out, a lot of these properties probably wouldn't be developed if there wasn't some type of incentive to have people. I'll tell you, I'm not as long as Council President or Councilman Monk or Councilman Garcia, but I've sat here a while now. And I've seen some of these properties be vacant for years and years. And not just when I was on the council, running around, with pin of salt on my shirt, playing football, and the building or that site be vacant ever since I was running around with it on my shirt to now to see what happened. So I just want to, one, commend the mayor and his administration for continuing to seek ways to get people into this community to build. We're reaping the benefits, and we'll continue to reap the benefits. A tax abatement is not germane just to city of Passaic either. It's a state initiative that's happening all over our state. So I just wanted to say that.
Council President and Councilman Love, we also want to remind the community that through this council together, we approve the opportunities for homeowners to construct bathrooms, two-family homes, which previously was not allowed. And I think that this is important to share because some people have them You may want to report them because they're legal now. They're not illegal. And rather than get a violation, understand that the goal is to help family members. Look, sometimes the law is important to deter from illegal activity. Some people construct opportunities for renting in basements, and then when there's a fire and people can't get out because there wasn't appropriate exits or there wasn't inspection, lives are lost. It is the responsibility of the council and obviously of administration and our professionals through code of construction and inspectors to prevent these kind of tragedies by saying, no, you can't. But I do want to say that we're allowed through the council, there has been innovative approaches to help families and homeowners of all homes in every ward. So if you want to construct a bathroom, or if you had, or you want to look at these incentives, please come to the city because these incentives, these initiatives, these policies are to the benefit of the community, but you have to come and apply for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council. No, I'm sorry, just a moment. Council,
no disrespect to
excuse me,
nobody.
sir, just a moment, please. The councilwoman wanted to make a comment.
Huh? Yeah, he did. He said he's done.
The councilwoman.
You can give them the
Oh,
opportunity.
Go ahead, go ahead. You can talk.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to thank the mayor and the business administrator for educating us on these abatements. Because we know, I mean, as it's been stated, this property was vacant for 30 years. And without these programs, it doesn't incentivize um, uh, um, businesses to come and invest into our city. And by providing these abatements, it allows the city to continue to flourish. And not only that, to also passing it on to homeowners, because a lot of homeowners don't know that these 5 years abatements are available to them to beautify their homes. So thank you on educating and providing that information to us.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
This is my problem.
May I have your name, sir, please?
My name Ron Brown. I'm from Passaic. Listen, this is my problem with the whole issue with the whole Passaic. Passaic Park is different from Passaic. That's first of all. Second of all, I don't understand what's going on with the scrutiny, with everything else. This is what we know. This is what we do. This is what we do. So if your con or your gender, I'm not being biased or nothing, but your con, your gender, say that y'all be at 7-Eleven Quick Check. That's 24 hours. You understand what I'm saying? So if we're on the street corner where as though it's notorious for something, where as though it's known for nothing, and everybody take care of each other and doing what they got to do for the community and their people, like you say you do for your community and your people, come on. I'm not, like I'm saying once again, strike three. I'm not being biased, but my word got to be spoken to because I'm getting tired of hearing all this crisscross stuff. And it's time to come to a cross. I know the mayor went to school with him and everything. I'm not saying nothing about him. I'm not saying nothing about nobody. But at the end of the day, y'all got to do something like the right thing with everybody. You got football teams out here. You know what I'm saying? You got nothing is donated. Why? But you got soccer teams getting donated. You just put somebody going to baseball in Florida. Who did that? I'm just saying my piece. No answer, no question. Everybody looking at me like, oh. I know it's sponsorships and everything with that, but at the end of the day, if you are part of the town, you're supposed to donate something. You're supposed to donate something. Why these kids out here doing what they get? Come on. Remember, you said recreation, piker, you said workforces, you have everything. You know what I see now? The people that you want to put out there. And it's sad, because back then, everything you had to do, boys clubs, everything, free. Now you got to pay something plus tuition. Me personally, I'm tired. I've been here forever. I had to say this. Normally I don't, but real reality, I be seeing all y'all. And it's corny.
It's scrutiny. Like, give us our half, we give you half. What's up? Like, seriously. And I'm from Passaic. I ain't putting nowhere, nobody, but it's crazy how y'all trying to scrutinize a certain situation to where as though y'all can't control it. You got a big camera right there. You mean to tell me you can't see nothing? Honestly speaking, how many cameras you put up there? Y'all let one go and poke one right back. Honestly. Wow. Then y'all talking about Corny, Bragg, Park, oh, the mirror. We respect that guy. You think we don't, but we do. We love the crap out the guy. Y'all seem like, oh, y'all using this as a, we've been out there. We've been out there. Every ancestor been out there sitting there. Only thing y'all did was recreate the bench. There was a phone booth there a long time ago. Remember that?
You have 1 minute, sir.
Excuse me?
You have 1 minute to conclude your remarks.
Huh?
You have 1 minute to conclude.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying though. But answer my question. I took like 5 minutes already. You said I got 1 minute. Yeah, answer me. That's all I gotta say. Like, really, I'm standing there. Answer my question. Any one of y'all. They can't.
Your time is up, sir.
They can't.
Your time is up, sir.
Yeah, my time up, but answer my question.
The rules of the council are that you have the opportunity to ask questions. There's no requirement.
Answer my question.
There's no requirement that the council responds.
Right. You hear what I said? From what I said.
Anyone else like to address the council at this time?
Council President, if I may, Mr. Arnold, please, if you just 1 second before you go, we're on the record. A question was asked about the Boys and Girls Club that I want to put on record. The Boys and Girls Club is an amazing facility that has benefited the city for many years. The Boys and Girls Club is a program and an organization that has benefited the city for many years. I attended the Boys and Girls Club. You have, and many children. I was a kid when they made the agreement to come here. The individual who led the agreement to bring the Boys and Girls Club here and to get them to have their contract on Hudson Street was Council President Gary Scher. I just want to answer the question because I want you to have some context. I know because I spoke, because Mr. Thorne, when Mr. Thorne was there, I spoke to him who shared that the leading elected official in getting the Boys and Girls Club to have their long-term relationship was Mr. Scher. I share that only to highlight some of the work that was done. In terms of your questions, and I know that we're on the ordinance and I'm being indulged more than what I should because we should be speaking on the ordinance. You asked about the RBI team. Major League Baseball funded it. Wasn't a city. The boys made it to the World Series. So we didn't pay for it. Major League RBI funded the kids to go to Florida and play in the World Series. In regards to soccer, I just go back to it, and it's just because this is on the record, I want to share this. Yes, there's a lot of soccer because there's a lot of kids who play it. Just like when we grew up, there was a lot of baseball, and there was a lot of little league football, and a lot of people played. There's still people volunteering and helping for CAPS. Councilmen here, they donate all the time. But I want to say this, and I think Ms. Gibson had shared it, and I thought it was so appropriate if I may highlight it. If there's an activity in the city, we all know there's some individuals who show up and tell you who's not here. And then there's those rare and remarkable leaders who rather than do that, go out into the community and get people to come. If there's an activity, a book bag drive, a toy giveaway, look, I'll be honest as mayor. I don't respect, if I may, Ron, just let me finish my point. I know. Let me just finish. I appreciate that, Ron, but let me finish my position. I respect more the individuals who would go to the community and say, come get a book bag and come get a toy, or come sign up for the program than the person who stays at the event filming and saying, look who's not here. Because the person filming saying, look who's not here isn't helping. If you really wanted that to get to the community, you put your camera down, go knock on doors and say, come. Well, if sports are wanted, look, we played for A&E against timeout, second ward. People came out. If we don't come out and say we want to watch the games, enroll our kids, if other families enroll in soccer, lacrosse, tennis, God bless them. But we as elected officials, we don't dictate who plays what. We just provide the resources. This council voted to add money to recreation. They didn't say add it to soccer, add it to tennis. They said add to recreation. What people sign up for, that's where it goes. And then lastly, if I may, yeah, this council, you said they represent their people. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Sure, I'll tell you. Here's the difference. Because there are African American families that live in Passaic Park. There are Hispanic families. There are Italian families. There are Jewish and Muslim families. But let me be clear, because I've said this over. There is Third Ward Passaic Park. There is Second Ward Passaic Park. There's First Ward Passaic Park. We have parks in every ward. Dundee Island is the only riverfront park anywhere you'll find. You've heard me say it on live all the time. We're down at Second Ward Passaic Park. So yes, I'm not still. But if we're going to talk about Passaic parks, this council and the mayor have invested in every park. So if you're asking about parks, every park, if you're asking about a ward, here's the difference. Rather than look at a ward, say your second ward. Forgive me for this. Rather than look at what others do, you like a neighborhood in another ward and what they do it in your neighborhood. You think a neighborhood is clean and you go, why is that neighborhood clean? Gather the families together in your neighborhood and say, let's clean it. Because government isn't sending more resources to one side. I know, but you have to, this is a council meeting. It's a council meeting. We can't go back and forth.
Your 5 minutes.
What I'm saying is
Mayor's
this.
responding, please.
What I'm saying is this. Government isn't sending more resources to one side than another. If the resources are there, if we send $16 million to downtown Wall Street in the park and it doesn't get taken care of, that's on the people who are supposed to take care of the park. If we invest in crosswalks and people don't stop at the crosswalk, for as much as the police enforce it, it has to be community involvement to say we won't tolerate this. And if we don't like something in the city, we need to come to council. Look, there's people here who disagree with me, but at least I respect they come to the council meeting. They come to the council meeting and share it. So that's what I want to tell you. There is a fairness. I just want to put on the record because with social media, sometimes if we don't respond, it's almost as if we agree. And I want to be clear on it. And I do think with what you're saying is fair, but you should know where some of these programs originate. Look, I have nothing to gain by telling you that council president was instrumental in bringing the Boys and Girls Club, but I want to share that with you. That the Boys and Girls Club is a great program. There's so many people benefited, and very few people know that Council President Gary Sher was the one that pushed for them to get a long-term agreement. If he did that, then that wasn't to the benefit of Third Ward. That was to the benefit of Hudson Street and every child of every community. So look, as humans, we're elected officials. We're going to support things people don't like. We're going to propose things that people don't like, and sometimes we're going to be wrong. But this is what I said. Every elected official here has fought for every ward. And I know it gets said out, and sometimes we don't get it right. But I want it on the record that every initiative, at least from the individuals up here that I have seen, have never been presented to say this is for my community alone. It's what's best for the city as a whole. And when they object to something, they genuinely believe it's not for the best of the whole city. Of course, we disagree. We got opinions. Just like in the community, we have opinions. We disagree. But if we're going to be fair, we should present it completely the way it is. That's all I wanted to do. Thank you. But the time won't allow. In the next meeting.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments.
That's crazy. I need more. When this This Councilman, because I need more input from y'all. Y'all not saying that. Y'all just like.
Sir, everyone has 5 minutes to speak. If we.
No, I understand that. I respect you. But I want to know.
September 7th.
September
Meeting
7th.
September 7th.
September 7th. 7 o'clock, September 7th.
Next council meeting, September 7th.
September 7th.
It's 5
All right.
minutes.
Does
Everybody
anyone
gets
else want to
5
speak?
No, no disrespect.
All right.
I really want to.
Very
there-
good.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We appreciate
Thank you,
it.
sir.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Seeing no hands, is there a motion to close?
So move.
Motion and second to close public hearing.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, we're up to Roman numeral 7, ordinances for second and final reading. Hearing is required. Number 1, proposed ordinance 2403-23, an ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons. Is there a motion, please, to open public
So
hearing?
moved.
Motion, second, please.
Second.
Roll call, please, to open public
Councilman Monk?
discussion.
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the council is contemplating proposed ordinance 2403-23. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Second.
Motion and second to close public hearing.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, please, is there a maker? There is a maker. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Maker and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to number 2, please. Proposed ordinance 2404-23. An ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. Is there a motion, please, to open
So
public
moved.
hearing?
Second.
Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. That was to close public hearing? That was to open public hearing. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the council will be contemplating proposed ordinance 2404-23. If you would like to address the council on this item and this item only, please step forward.
I would like to move the court.
There's a motion to close
Second.
and a second to close. Roll call, please, to close public
Councilman
hearing.
Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, please, is there a maker? Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. Number 3, please. Proposed ordinance 2405-23. An ordinance approving the application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the city of Passaic to enter into a financial agreement with SFG Passaic Urban Renewal LLC for property identified on the official tax map of the city of Passaic as Block 1024, Lot 17, corresponding to 122-152 8th Street in Passaic, New Jersey. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Move it.
Motion and second. Roll call.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council will be contemplating proposed ordinance 2405-23. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only? Yes, sir.
The city council is contemplating extending a tax exemption to a warehouse, a very large warehouse that's claimed to cost, over $20 million to build. I have a few questions about this. First of all, it was raised last meeting. What are the numbers? Who's running the numbers about this project to find out what is the revenue? Do they need this exemption or not? Just a couple of minutes ago.
Why, don't we answer your questions one by one?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Fernandez, can you help us on that, please?
Yes,
Yes, we've run the numbers.
yes, and
Okay, and who else runs them besides the city internally?
so it's multiple individuals.
Multiple, right, okay.
Do we know how many years it's going to take for them to pay off this cost if we don't extend this tax exemption?
I'm sorry, again, sir, please?
Do we know how many years it's going to take them to, how many years of renting
They
out?
won't undertake the project unless there is the tax
They
incentive.
already bought the property, so I'm assuming that they already had a plan, and now we're helping them. The cost is, the performer is going to go to the bank with their income and their expenses, and they're going to get a loan. Do we know how many years it's going to take them to pay back if they don't have this help? What does the performer say? How many years? What's the difference in how many years it's going to take to pay this off?
So Council President, I think you said it best, that without the pilot, they can't get the funding. And we're talking about a commercial loan. So when you're talking about that, I mean, it's not like a regular residential loan where you pay it back over 30 years. They have to pay it back, I think, within 20 years.
Okay, so the city knows that they got denied to put up this project without this help? Does the city know that the banks refused to help finance this?
The finances that he's presenting are dependent upon the city taking this action.
It was mentioned before that sometimes the city's gonna make more money with the tax pilot than without. There's two questions I think that the city's missing about that. First of all, the city's taking the assumption of the current taxes, the way the city assesses taxes now, and then breaking it over 30 years, and then taking the new 10% of gross revenue and saying what the difference is. And Councilman Monk said that the city's gonna be way ahead with the tax pilot. My question is, maybe the city's just not taxing properly now. Maybe I brought up the city before. It seems that there's many, I mean, it looks like almost any property that I look at that's not a 4-unit or below, the city's undertaxing. The city doesn't seem to have the proper records of how much revenue the properties have.
Councilman Monk, is that you?
Yeah, just a few things. The way I understand it, the pilot is structured in a way exactly for the problems that you raise. Any developer could put any numbers together, okay? We don't know today exactly what the expenses are. Nobody knows, okay? No one has a crystal ball. So we all have to just take the best assumptions that we could. But I think the bigger picture to look at is that you're looking at a piece of land that has been empty for the past 30 years. And currently is paying around $700,000 in taxes every year. Even if we're wrong, we're still going to come out ahead. But it's structured in a way that should we be wrong, we're going to get a percentage of revenue. So if the revenue will be great, and it's not revenue, it's not a net operating income, which is after expenses. This is purely revenue. So if we're wrong and the revenue is higher, regardless of what his expenses are to build it, regardless of what his expenses are to run it, if we're off with the revenue, we will get minimally, starting off in year one, 10% of every dollar. So there's no way of knowing.
Gross, Councilman, or net? That's gross or net?
Of gross revenue, of every dollar collected. So when they make a presentation, they show what the cost is to develop and what the cost is to operate. So if they're wrong on the operation and their operation costs more to operate, they're losing because we're still getting the minimally 10%. But there is no way for the tax department to really figure out exactly what the value is, what it should be. It's a guesstimate. So for instance, this project right now is paying $725,000. The assumption is without the pilot, they'll pay 2.6 million Can it be 2.8? Can it be 3? Possibly. But with the information that we have to just do what we feel the bigger picture is the right thing to do.
I also want to ask, how does the city make sure that in the agreement that the company doesn't build a warehouse and then rent out the space to their sister company, subsidiary, and not charge very high rent? And they don't have a lot of revenue, but it's the same pocket.
Councilman Monk?
Yeah, well, this is something that was not specifically to what you're asking, but along the same lines of what we were discussing at the last meeting of maybe instituting some like a deeper audit of the actual leases, maybe a forensic audit to ensure that that the bank accounts match up, to ensure that the leases written are the market, right? That will tell you if there's any games being played, right? It could be, doesn't have to be it could be even just, doesn't have to be the same company, it could be another company where they just have two separate leases, right? You know, whatever it might be. So this is something which was discussed at the last meeting, and I'm sure this will be a discussion that we'll have with the administration ongoing in terms of how we could weed out, you know, any games that potentially are being paid. Because any, you know, for every dollar, which they don't show, right, they're saving 10%, right? And this is money that really belongs to every resident, right, to offset taxes for all the homes, right, and every property owner.
Yeah, if I could add, there are mechanisms already in place for that. So let me just start piggybacking a little bit on what you said about the agreement. The agreement is the greater of, right? So we do have a floor. So let's say the buildup takes a bit longer than they wanted to, or they take a while to rent. There is a floor that at minimum is what they were paying before, if not more. Secondly, we do have the percentage of gross income, and we also have taxes otherwise due, also all based on the numbers they provided us. So if, let's say there was a case in which they tried to give it to subsidiary and rent it for $1 a square foot, which is way below market value, then they would not be consistent with what they presented to us for the agreement to get done in the first place. And as we discussed, their jeopardy is that they will not have this. These numbers go to their bank, right? Because there is value to the bank to have this, especially in a 30-year abatement. A 30-year abatement has value to the bank, and they monetize that over the loan that they are receiving from the bank. So if they try to play that game, forget about us. The bank itself is going to be saying, well, wait a minute. You know, we loaned you this money based on this income that you provided us for the loan. So there's multiple layers. And to be clear, if that did happen, that's the easiest red flag for us to manage when the tax collector goes to collect it. And lastly, under the law, no matter what, the land value always has to be paid. So that value is also part of the agreement. So let's say they don't build it and they, for whatever reason, it goes default, we still have the land value payments that are built in under the law.
And with all of those layers, I would add, there is a benefit to having individuals who have consistently represented the city. Is it worth trying to game the system? And will businesses try to make the most profit? Yes, but I would propose to you that individuals on this dais have long memories. And some of the individuals on this dais have relationships that span the entire state. Do you want to be the business that gets caught, the developer that gets caught playing the game? Because that information will go around and will follow you in every application that you make around the state. I share this from personal experience, having worked with one of the individuals on this dais, on the state level, and having witnessed this individual remember developers who tried to play the game. And I tell you that they will not only adverse any potential relationships or future investment opportunities within our city, but again, I reiterate, they jeopardize any opportunities around the state of New Jersey. So again, I'll say it's not that we don't believe they would want to. I just don't know if it's worth the risk with all the layers, checks and balances in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more question. So a lot of tax pilots are the greater of the cost of construction and everything involved, including land, or the gross revenue. The city commissioner said these agreements are specifically in each agreement. It's not one or the other, it's the greater of. And just before I leave, I just want to say, it's when it comes to these tax pilots, a lot of people that are in support of them want to point out that the development wouldn't happen otherwise. And I would argue, when we mentioned houses, if we had a tax pilot and someone came with a tax pilot, we could always say, look, until we gave him a tax pilot, he didn't fix his house, and now he's fixing his house. There's always going to be people developing. The question is who you're choosing to give a tax pilot to. It's always going to be the person developing who's getting a tax pilot. So I think it's a little bit silly to say, look, he's getting a tax pilot and now he's developing. Well, someone else was developing yesterday. Maybe he got one, didn't get one. There's always someone renovating a house. I think it's short-sighted to point and say, look, it's the tax pilots that are doing it. There's always going to be vacant land because it doesn't cost much money in taxes to keep up a vacant land. And when you're ready to develop, you come to the city. The question is who's the winners on the tax pilot? Thank you.
And Council President, if I could just verbalize and confirm that it is the greater of, just so that it's verbally out there. It is always the greater of. And I'd like to mention that over the last 7 years, with over 125 approvals between both boards and over 50 of them being for redevelopment, all right, you're looking at 6 pilots up to these 2 that came. These are be added on to be 8. So what that tells you is that out of all those projects that could have had a pilot, we are talking about if this passes and the one that's on for first reading passes, we're talking about 8 over the last 8 years.
I think if I may, I think that we need to reaffirm something too, and as fortunate or as unfortunate as it is, the bottom line is without the pilot program, development would not have come to Passaic, period. Without the pilot program, 8th Street, which has been an albatross around our necks for how many years now? 35 years, 36 years. It was a year after, it was that spring that my family and I moved to Passaic, and just a few months later, it was the fire. So an interesting way to date things. The bottom line is that for however many years, my colleagues and I have been sitting at this dais watching opportunities go to other communities. And what is the difference between us and them? And that was they're looking at pilots as something which were positive and necessary and needed. And that's what we have here as well.
Would the city commissioner think that it's possible we can have the leases filed by the owner, by the developer, without audits being required? They have a requirement in the contract that they have to file their yearly leases in some database in the city?
That is required, isn't it, Mr. Fernandez? Yes?
Yes, at the end of every year, as anyone who takes part of a pilot program is required to submit what their expenses were and their income based on their rentals and what those rentals are.
And what if they would provide numbers which were not quite correct?
So then there would be further review and further investigation to find out why there is an anomaly.
It's a criminal matter, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they're tax evasion. That's how they got Al Capone.
Would the city commission think it's legal to ask them to file the actual leases without the city having to do any audits, to file the actual leases with the city?
You're asking, sir, I'm sorry?
If the contracts could require anyone that wants a pilot in Passaic must file the actual yearly leases that they have with their tenants, the actual leases. So, not an income statement.
I'm not quite sure what the question is, Mr. Fernandez.
I think he says, do we want their leases or can we
Do we
request
get, I
their
believe you said,
leases?
do we get the leases?
Can we require them to file the actual leases with the city so the city doesn't have to rely on their own personal income statement?
We do that. It's part of the, yeah, it's part of the process.
Yeah, So there's a financial review that is required at the end of every year that is guided under the statute, which requires them to provide the rental leases. I don't know if it's the actual full lease or a reference to the leases as far as. Yes, we'll look into it.
Thank you.
That would be great. Good. Anyone else?
Council President, if I may,
Councilman?
I have a question, a real practical question for the business administrator through the mayor.
This is on the ordinance.
Yes, it is.
Thank you, sir.
This ordinance, it's estimated about how much?
Again, based on the numbers we have today, the estimated income for the city is approximately $60,259,340.31 based on the numbers provided.
That's over what period of
Over
time?
30 years with escalation. So I know someone mentioned about, what our taxes are today. We put a 2% per year escalation in revenue and in tax escalation. Sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower, but just to keep it average, we average an escalation. And based on that escalation, it's $60,259,340. And just the city share of today's taxes, if nothing got done, would be $17,665,000. So that's what, if nothing happened, that's what we would get over 30 years. If this happens, it's over $60 million over the 30 years.
Thank you, Mr. Business Administrator. Council President, I just wanted to point out that we're not talking about a project of $500. We're not talking about a small project. Individuals who get to this level of a $60 million project, right, obviously had to be successful in their career in redevelopment, or they hit the lottery last night. So one or the other. Well, tonight. Thank you, Councilman Monk. All right, they hit it already and they claimed the money. All right, but not to be facetious, I can't fathom that individuals who put out the money to redevelop and potentially make $60 million would start playing the games that one would not allow them to make $1, and or as Council President carefully pointed out, and face criminal charges. That's a lot to say for developers. And in fact, we don't have any reports of anyone doing this, do we?
No, in fact, when the question was asked yesterday from our financial advisor who does this throughout the entire state of New Jersey, he could not recall one that's ever happened to him.
I remember I don't need the transcript, I remember from the last meeting, that's what he eloquently stated. So I just say that we get a lot of talk about this, and we're spending a lot of time justifying or trying to prevent individuals from falsifying records, so to speak, when there's already layers and layers, both through the state, through the project itself, and through the city. So I just wanted, Council President, I don't know if it was germane, but I think I needed to point out that individuals who play, and I use play in a careful term, with $60 million projects aren't in it to lose anything. So that's just my little spill on it, and I wanted to carefully point that out.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Motion, is there a second? Motion and second to close public portion.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes. Is there a motion, please, to accept?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. The motion is passed. We're up to Roman numeral 8 on our agenda, communications, items 4 through 12. Are there any questions, please, on items 4 through 12? Seeing no lights at this time, is there a motion,
So
please,
moved,
to
Council
accept four
President.
details? Motion and second, roll call?
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. Items 13 to 16, excuse me, I'm sorry, items 13, 14, and 15. Is there a motion? If there are no questions, is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second on 13, 14, and 15, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. On 16, please, is there a motion?
Move.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call on 16 only.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Abstention, Mom.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez, and Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to resolutions, Roman numeral 9 on our agenda. Item 17 is a resolution authorizing closed executive session. Susie, do we need closed executive? Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fernandez?
No, Council President.
Mr. Mayor?
No, Council President.
And members of the council. Seeing such, on items 18 through 39. Are there any questions, please, on 18 through 39? Councilman Monk.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, question on 24. Is this just a general blanket contract, or is this a specific for any area of the city? It doesn't state anything in the resolution.
Yeah, because it's very long.
Very long.
So if you'd like, I could
No.
briefly tell you which ones they are. It's multiple areas. Throughout the entire city, by the way, going back to what the mayor's point is, we look throughout the entire city and this has multiple streets and intersections throughout the entire
That's fine.
city.
I just wanted to.
They are all being identified. They're not a general category to add to.
Correct.
Okay, fine, okay. On item 20, 28, as well as 29, as well as actually 27. The resolution states that, let's say 28 as an example. The lowest possible bid was received from Frank's Truck Center. Were other bids received? Because it says attached. Let's see which one.
Is this, if I may, Councilman,
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez, are these state contracts?
No, I think these, because of what's happening throughout the country with vehicles, these had to be a little bit more specific. Some were bid, some were not. Let's see. No, these were downloaded, and so 27 was downloaded, and it looks like Frank's was the only one that downloaded. So the problem we're having, and that's why we're also bidding them out, is because there's limited inventory. And we have to go with what's on the lot. So just so we're clear, 27 is a garbage truck. 29 is
it's a dump truck.
It's a dump, and then the other two are also dump truck, but one's like a pickup dump, and the other ones are just regular dump trucks. For DPW based, and the funding, by the way, is American Rescue Plan funding, just so that the council's aware of the funding source for them.
So how do we know? It's a big ticket items, and without bidding, how do we know that?
Well, we did bid it.
I'm sorry?
We did bid it.
There's no one else bid on it.
Yeah, but we also look at manufacturer details. It's not like we just go ahead and are like, oh, this is the only bidder we got. How do we know we got the best price? We go out and check the market. I mean, the beauty right now is you can get ideas for what the vehicles are valued at before we approve it. So that was vetted through our purchasing department as well as our DPW department. In fact, when we get the request, it comes with a budget, right? Like, I want to have 2 dumpers. This is the price of a dumper. And then we go bid it out and make sure that we're within that range.
You notice you get a basic price before it's.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And that's just about 99% of everything we do, especially with equipment.
Why wouldn't one do this by state contract?
And they weren't available. They weren't available. Right now, I could tell you with all the vehicles that we're getting that we need, it's what's on the lot and can we get it? And how fast can we get it?
Council President, if I may, if the business administrator could explain what occurs if we end up getting a bid for $150,000 vehicle when we know they typically go for 79.
Oh, then clearly that's over budget. We wouldn't accept it. And that's we would reject it. And that's, this council has seen many resolutions that we've rejected it because it's over budget.
The process is before we even bid it out, you'd have a.
Oh, yes, a base price.
Base price.
That's just about every piece of equipment we get here. We do a base price. The department requesting it reviews and provides us with that so that when we do get the bids, we have an understanding of where we are with it.
All right, thank you. Item 38.
38?
Yeah, resolution authorizing extension of contract for fire alarm monitoring services, equipment, annual inspection service, and maintenance. So it's extending a contract with United Federal Systems in Total, New Jersey for 5,000. I'm reading the top of the ordinance under the headline. $5,569 a month. Hourly rate is $95, right? $95, and premium hourly rate is $142.50. So my question is, what's the monthly rate for? What's the hourly rate?
So anything above and beyond the general maintenance that was in the bid specs. Now, remember, this is just an extension of an existing contract. We're keeping it because of the increasing prices. We're keeping it exactly as we did last year. And I think you had the very similar question, if not the same question last year when we did it, where the general maintenance and monitoring is the 5,500. If there's any additional work that's not covered under general maintenance, it's at $95 an hour, unless it's like a emergency weekend or something like that. It's the 142. And I got to tell you, we don't even hit. We don't even hit the not to exceed amount.
I didn't see it. I don't think this one has a not to exceed, right?
Yeah, 15,000.
Oh, and, that's in the resolution itself?
Yeah. This is the resolution from, remember this, your backup has the original resolution.
Oh, no, I'm looking at today's resolution, the backup resolution you're saying.
Yeah, because remember, we're extending the existing ones. If you look at the backup one.
Oh, I see there.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Are there any other questions, please, on items 18 through 39? Seeing none at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept items
So
18
move
through
it.
39? Motion and second, roll call, please.
Councilman Monk?
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Short?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez? And Council President Sher.
Yes, we're up to Roman numeral 10 of our agenda, ordinances for introduction and first reading, number 40. An ordinance amending the designation of restricted parking for disabled persons by New Jersey license plate number. Is there a motion, please, to set down for second and final reading at our meeting of September the 7th?
Move.
Motion and second, roll call.
Councilman Monk?
We'll hold the roll call for just a moment. Councilman Monk, your light is on.
Yeah, just, what is this for,
We're on number 40, Councilman.
40, I'm sorry, 41, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry.
I think on 40, you might not have any questions.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it was.
Roll call continue, please.
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello?
Yes.
Councilman Short?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colón Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shield.
Yes, thank you. The ordinance passes for first reading. Number 41, please. An ordinance approving the application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the city of Passaic to enter into a financial agreement with 101 7th Street Urban Renewal LLC for property identified on the official tax map of the city of Passaic as block 1030, lot 1, corresponding to 1017 7th Street in the city of Passaic. Is there a motion, please, to sit down for second and final reading at our meeting of September the 7th? Is there a motion, please?
Move it.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk.
Yeah, just this, like, this is what I had a question on, Council President.
We'll take your question, Councilman.
Thank you. What is this pilot program for?
This is for Atlantic Coast Fibers, the recycling center, which was devastated by fire and in turn really hindered our ability for recycling. We have to send it out and actually created additional cost for us as a municipality. So this would allow it to be rebuilt at as a state-of-the-art recycling center.
But they were a recycling center before the fire. So what changed that they needed a pilot to make it work? I mean, they had no insurance.
Yeah, but it was an old building. I gotta tell you, they were grandfathered in because they were there so long. They were grossly under the standard for a recycling center. I mean, you're talking about an investment of a brand new state-of-the-art recycling center. You can't compare what was there to what they have approved for of the center. Like, there's things there that are extremely beneficial now to the municipality.
Councilman, perhaps we can explore this more during second and final reading.
Okay, fine.
Fine.
Councilman Love.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello.
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colón Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shield.
Yes, thank you. Roman numeral 11, please. Payment of bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Seeing no lights, is there a motion, please, to accept the bills as presented by the clerk's office? Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please, on the bills.
Councilman Monk.
Yes.
Councilman Love. Councilwoman Mello.
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
Councilwoman Colón Montañez.
Yes.
And Council President Shield.
Yes, thank you. Roman numeral 12, administrators report. Mr. Fernandez.
None at this time, Council President.
Mr. Mayor?
As the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Mobile Agency on Wheels here in Passaic, August 2nd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Wednesday, in collaboration with the 36th Legislative District Assemblyman Shayer and the City of Passaic. Our concert in the parks will be on Thursday. We have a car show August 13th, right at Third War Memorial Park. Many have been looking forward to the car show coming back. And we will have it August 13th, Third War Park, with Mr. Will Smith. We'll be leading. Lastly, you'll notice our flags are half-staff. And I would ask that we take a moment of silence in closing to acknowledge the passing of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. She became the first African-American woman to become Speaker of the State Assembly and the first African-American to win state office. She's a remarkable leader. I know she worked closely with our assemblymen in the 36th Legislative District. She came to Passaic. I remember she walked the train tracks with me just because I mentioned that I was concerned about it. She said, I want to see it for myself. I got to work with her personally on many occasions. I got to know her as a woman of deep faith who loved her family and who fought for underserved communities. She stood up strongly against gun violence. She stood up strongly for communities around the state of New Jersey. When Governor Murphy chose her as the lieutenant governor, I remember many of us said he couldn't have found a better choice. She was a remarkable leader, and her passing came as a surprise. I want to put on the record, she passed as acting governor. The governor was on vacation with his family, and while vacation, designates. This is not the case because that's what they reported online.
The governor wasn't, if I may, Mayor, the
Sure,
governor
sure.
was in fact on vacation with his family in Italy. However, because of the medical condition of the lieutenant, she relieved the responsibilities of the governorship to the Senate president.
Thank you, Council President. So when he's away, she was typically the acting governor. And when we read that he was away, we assumed
All
she
the
was,
time.
yes.
All the time.
But she had pushed forward often legislation that she got to be at the forefront while in the role of acting governor when he would be away. I say it to share that her leadership inspired many. Her legacy will continue, and we believe that her loss is a loss for the entire state. So we lowered the flags, and our prayers go out to her family. She's from Essex County, which, as you know, when it comes to politics there, to rise there and to lead is no easy thing. But she was a remarkable woman who spent many, many years representing our area, and she would come to Passaic County all the time. She never hesitated to go around the state to represent, and I got to speak to her often. So I just ask for a moment of silence and know that our city will.
Please rise for a moment of silence for the lieutenant.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. As a final note, tonight was a bit of a difficult meeting, and I wanted to both thank and compliment and commend my colleagues on the council and Mr. Mayor, of course, yourself. And thank you for the grace with which tonight was able to occur. As to the council itself versus what was going on outside, it was a good time by all. Is there, if there's no other business before this council, is there a motion?
So move it,
There's a
Council
motion
President.
to adjourn. Is there a motion and second to adjourn, please? Roll call.
Yes.
Councilman Love?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mano?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes.
Councilman Colon Montañez?
Yes.
And Council President Shield.
Yes, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.